Chapter 221. I swear to sink with the enemy ship. Zaiwan charged toward Yoshino with an unstoppable resolve, ramming hard into its starboard side. As the collision was imminent, chaos erupted among the crew aboard Yoshino. Captain Kawahara Yuichi rallied his sailors, instructing them to arm themselves with rifles, readying for the seldom-seen boarding combat of this age. He could never have imagined that as captain of one of the most advanced warships of his era, he would resort to a naval combat method of the age of sailing vessels. Meanwhile, aboard Zaiwan, flames had spread across the deck. In the thick, rolling smoke, out of the original 200 crew members, less than 10 survivors remained, all gathered around Captain Deng. Today, we vow to sink with the enemy ship. Yu Yanmei and Munkata Kotaro were still in a standoff. The female Grandmaster crouched on the ground, slightly leaning forward, her left hand gripping the hilt of her sword, her cold eyes glistening through her hair. Before the impact, she took 2 pills, surprisingly they were Lu Yao's 10 complete immortal pills. She had given a bottle to Li Pei before, and the girl had passed the potent pills on to her master. As the distance closed, a deafening crash rang out, and the 2 iron-clad warships, thousands of tons each, collided. The thunderous collision and the grating sound of tearing steel echoed throughout, drawing everyone's gaze. Men and objects were flung into the air from both ships, and even the several-ton cannons could not escape being lifted by the horrifying force of the impact and tossed into the sea, creating mere ripples in the water. A massive hole was torn open in the starboard side of Yoshino that a truck could drive through, and sea water surged in. At that moment, Yu Yanmei made her move. Her legs powered through, shattering the lookout post entirely as she shot forth like a bolt of lightning, heading straight for her enemies. At that instant, the power of the pills dilated Yu Yanmei's pupils. Paired with her cool temperament, her eyes looked like shining gemstones. True Qi transformed the mundane iron in her hand into a divine weapon, and her steel sword glinted with a dazzling light. With a loud boom, the Grandmaster shattered the air in front of her, moving so fast she disappeared from the retina, leaving only a silver streak behind. This streak, like a rippling ribbon, swiftly sliced through the enemies on Yoshino. Munkata Kotaro, Captain Kawahara Yuichi, and several officers of organ refining and spirit refinement. Time slowed for everything in the world. Debris in mid-air, the astonished faces of the enemy, and the white-haired girl leaping with sword drawn, all frozen in the atmosphere. When the dust settled, the enemies realized in shock that their bodies would no longer obey their commands, and they fell to the ground in countless pieces. So fast! Munkata Kotaro's katana was drawn only 2/3 of the way out. After uttering these last words, he too fell apart into chunks of flesh. Yu Yanmei sheathed her sword and exhaled a cloud of steamy mist from her mouth and nose, an effect of Lu Yao's pills. Amid the harsh sounds of twisting and breaking metal, the 2 warships sank together. Fortunately, Jing Yuan was nearby, arriving in time to rescue survivors. The captain of Jing Yuan, Lin Zhongqing, who had sought inner vision from Lu Yao some days before, had a frightening wound on his head, but he was otherwise unharmed. Amidst the fierce battle, Lin Zhongqing found a moment to cup his fist in the other hand towards the group, expressing admiration, "My respects to your excellent skills. I am deeply impressed." With Yoshino now sunk, the morale of the Genhai fleet's side soared. Furthermore, with the enemy's main firepower lost, the pressure on their own side was significantly reduced. The flagship Ding Yuan recovered, finally extinguishing the fire on board and rejoining the fight. Then there was Lu Yao, who cunningly hid in the clouds, targeting only the main cannons of the Izumo battleship. He didn't even need to detonate their ammunition, it was enough to render the enemy's main cannons unable to fire. This was like casting weakness on every enemy during a group fight, not dealing high damage, but extremely annoying. As the Izumo's warships were hit one after another, the balance of victory slowly tilted in our favor. Finally, a turning point appeared. The Ding Yuan's twin 305mm cannons made their mark once again. Under the control of the spirit refining gunner, a precise volley struck the flagship of Izumo, the Matsushima. The blast wave from the exploding cannonball flung a 120mm small cannon into the air. As chance would have it, this cannon happened to crash right into a pile of cannonballs on deck. By this time, both sides were seeing red. Many officers in the organ refining realm personally loaded cannonballs to increase the rate of fire. These men, who had the strength of thousands of pounds in their hands, were afraid there were not enough cannonballs, so they piled them all around themselves to make it more convenient to grab them. This disregard for military discipline had severe consequences. Continuous sympathetic detonations erupted on deck, creating an endless roar. The deck of the Matsushima was instantly cleared, as countless crew members were torn into pieces by the shrapnel flying in all directions. Moreover, because Izumo used incendiary bombs, the ship quickly became engulfed in a raging fire following the detonation. What goes around comes around. The fate that had just befallen the flagship Ding Yuan now also came upon Izumo's flagship. The shockwaves from the consecutive explosions tore several large holes in the hull, with seawater pouring in, causing the vessel to lose balance and begin to tilt. The Matsushima immediately retreated, trying to save itself. Its companion, the Fuzhang, moved up to attract fire. At the critical moment, Zhenhai Fleet's shortage in logistics was exposed. Ammunition was about to run out. All they could do was watch helplessly as the Matsushima slowly withdrew, powerless to do anything. Fortunately, there was still Liu Yao flying in the sky. These iron-clad warships are super tough when taking a beating, unfazed by dozens of cannonades. But if you hit the right spot with one shot, you can cripple them. As Liu Yao lamented, he locked onto the breach in the hull of Matsushima and fired 2 missiles. The missiles accurately drilled into the breach and produced 2 barely perceptible explosions, but flames then shot out from the breach, followed by a spectacular sight. A giant fireball rose to the sky, and black shockwaves surged all around. The ammunition depot had detonated. The Matsushima was split in 2 by the violent explosion. With the enemy flagship destroyed and 2 other main warships sunk, the battle had lost all suspense. The commander of the Izumo fleet, Ito Tsuyoshi, escaped from the Matsushima, scurried across the water to another main warship, the Kuritsu, and gave the order to retreat. Realizing the enemy's intention to escape, the Zhenhai fleet could only give a symbolic chase, as they too had suffered significant damage and were nearly out of ammunition. Liu Yao, mischievously flying in the sky, stopped firing cannons and instead targeted the base of the smokestacks on the Izumo warships, right where the boilers were located. Warships generally have multiple boilers, but some are bound to be unlucky. Out of the remaining 6 Izumo warships, Liu Yao circled around and shot each one, leaving 1 unlucky vessel. The Fuzhang, having already suffered damage to 2 boilers in the earlier combat, had another one destroyed by Liu Yao, effectively rendering it inoperable. Although the Zhenhai fleet's pursuit was merely symbolic, they did not let the easy prey escape. All the warships closed in for a collective barrage and directly sank the Fuzhang, giving no chance for surrender. Not a single person had been left unscathed on each ship of the Zhenhai fleet, and they were filled with a killing rage. Even the enemy crewmen struggling in the water were shot dead with rifles, sparing no one. Chapter 222. Preparation for the trip to the Imperial City. The Zhenhai naval force only pursued symbolically for a while before they realized that even with cannonballs, the battle could no longer be continued. In this battle, the naval force lost 3 warships, including the Zaiwan, and the remaining 7 were all severely damaged. The hulls were riddled with holes from taking on water, some were still emitting thick, billowing smoke, looking like nothing more than scrap metal. The flagship Ding Yuan, in particular, had been scorched by a massive fire and had already lost the ability to navigate. It was now summoning the entire fleet's engineers on board for repairs. The situation was urgent at the time. The fire raging below the decks could not be extinguished, and the only option was to close the hatches to prevent the flames from spreading. When these hatches were opened, many crew members were found burnt alive. They had stayed at their posts as the fire spread and were still in the positions they had been in the moment they died. There were many such individuals, and each ship had lost at least a quarter of its crew. In the face of artillery, the bodies of flesh and blood were too fragile, and even those in the blood exchange realm could perish without a trace if they weren't careful. The death of these sailors was the greatest loss for the Zhenhai fleet. They were a modern military force with a strong fighting will, trained with great effort by captains who had returned from studying abroad in previous years. They could not be replaced in 1 or 2 years. The ships, patched up as best as they could be, were scarcely fit for travel. Meanwhile, a sea burial was organized during this period, following naval tradition to allow the souls of the fallen to return to the ocean, making this vast expanse of blue their final resting place. Wrapped in bandages, Captain Deng looked at the fleet marred with scars and sighed. Ship and firearm developments are changing day by day, and the Yoshino's speed, rate of fire, and accuracy are far superior to ours. The stagnation of our naval force bodes ill for the nation. Let Li Zhongtang and the others worry about these matters, Chen Jingkui said with a smile. I asked Commander Lin for some alcohol. Let's celebrate your 45th birthday first. Today's the 18th of August, such an auspicious day. Captain Deng's expression turned stern, as he was about to reprimand them. Drinking was strictly forbidden on the ship. But then he reconsidered, realizing he had no ship left to uphold the rules on. While he was feeling sentimental, he suddenly noticed something off about Yu Yanmei nearby. Although she was standing there, he couldn't sense her presence, and her entire being had an as if riding the wind ethereal and transparent sensation, making her seem even more detached from the world. It took a good while before Yu Yanmei returned to normal. With much experience, Captain Deng immediately congratulated her with a fist salute. Congratulations to Grandmaster Yu for your breakthrough in spirit refinement to the state of oblivion. The people around them also reacted, hastily congratulating her together, their expressions filled with barely concealed envy. Yu Yanmei responded with a casual nod as if to deal with the formality and looked up at the sky with a puzzled expression, seemingly deep in thought. Liu Yao and the other two returned home. Without saying a word, they fell asleep immediately and did not wake up until the sun was high in the sky. To achieve better cultivation results, the three of them had carried their cart all the way home, exhausting themselves to the limit. Waking up with the smooth and fragrant body in his arms, Liu Yao deeply inhaled a few breaths from Liao Qi's body before getting out of bed. The girl quickly scrambled to help him dress. In the courtyard, Liao Ya was already practicing boxing. Suaria was there too, waiting like a housekeeper ready to report on her tasks. Pointing to a large basket of invitation cards, she said, "Uncle Master, during these few days while you were away, 30 people came to visit. They all want to establish a relationship with you." I see, throw them all away, Liu Yao said casually. "Is there any news in the newspaper?" Suaria handed over the newspaper. The government forces won the naval battle, and Izumo has retreated. The Empress Dowager, in great joy, has added grace to the science exams and is holding a martial arts competition to select martial scholars. Liu Yao took the newspaper and saw that the Imperial Court was planning to hold a Blood Exchange Realm exclusive martial arts competition in Imperial City on the 6th of October, as a tribute to the longevity celebration. The top 3 will be granted the title of Martial Scholar and rewarded with varying amounts of silver, ranging from 100 to 300 taels. These did not concern Liu Yao. He had already been conferred a third-grade official title by the court and enjoyed privileges like exemption from kneeling. He certainly was not lacking in money. However, the prize for the first place was the Nirvana Sutra. That was somewhat interesting. Liu Yao asked with curiosity, "By the name, it seems like a mystical refinement method." "It is the mystical refinement method of Baek Temple," Liao Ya joined in. Baek Temple is at the forefront of Buddhism, on par with Wudang. The sect protecting divine skill was leaked at the end of the previous dynasty and ended up in the possession of the imperial court. Liu Yao said, teasing her, "Big sister, you sure know a lot." "I read about it in picture books when I was a child," Liao Ya said with a blush. Liao Qi liked those books, she bought so many of them. "You're talking nonsense. You like them even more than me, you have a whole pile hidden under your bed." Hearing her sister's words from afar, Liao Qi hastily denied it. Liao Ya went to tickle her sister, and the two charming girls started frolicking around. Liu Yao stretched lazily, feeling that life was wonderful. But, the next piece of news was not so pleasing. "Uncle Master, there is also a document and a telegram," Suaria whispered. "Both are related to the Commandery Princess." Upon hearing this, Liao Ya and Liao Qi also became curious and leaned in to see, wondering how Li Pei was doing. Upon opening the Imperial Court's document, it sternly stated that Li Pei had been negligent of her duties and had been removed from her position as the president of the Yunzhou branch of the National Martial Arts Association. The telegram she sent, however, read, "All is well, no need for concern." Liao Ya sighed, to call this all is well. Sister Li Pei certainly knows how to put on a brave face. Liao Qi nodded in agreement, "She doesn't want us to worry." Liu Yao fell silent for a while before speaking, "Big sister, I'm going to try synchronizing the cleansing of my brain and spinal cord, help me with the protective rites." "All right, are you confident?" I've benefited a lot from continuous hard cultivation. I have cleansed up to the 12th segment of my spine," Liu Yao shared his thoughts. "I plan to advance to the Blood Exchange Realm soon and then visit Li Pei in Imperial City." Liao Qi interjected, "I also miss Sister Li Pei. Once you've achieved the Blood Exchange, let's go together." Liu Yao smiled, Perhaps we can also participate in the martial arts competition along the way and win the Mystic Cultivation Manual to enrich the Liao family fist scripture depository. The blood exchange realm not only offers a complete cure for deadly illnesses but also provides enough power to defend oneself. If those in the marrow cleansing realm were surrounded by a vast army or trapped in a narrow terrain, they would still face death under a barrage of bullets. But the blood exchange realm is different. One could withstand a .50 caliber machine gun for a dozen or so shots. It's essentially impervious to conventional weapons. At the very least, there would be time to escape. Chapter 223. Martial Path Blood Exchange. Let's begin. Liu Yao swallowed 2 complete immortal pills and fearlessly entered the inner vision state, activating his inner breath for mind cleansing. With Liao Ya and Liao Qi watching over him, he felt very reassured. The countless times they had massaged each other meant they were extremely familiar with one another's bodies, both inside and out. If there were any accidents, the sisters would take effective measures immediately, which was one of the benefits of being from the same sect. In the state of inner vision, everything within the body was reflected into his mind. For the cultivation of the marrow cleansing realm, cleansing the bones throughout the body wasn't difficult, relying on the accumulation of time and hard liver could do the job. But cleansing the brain marrow was not so. This was the most difficult part, and it stymied 99% of people. One could imagine that cleansing the brain marrow was bound to be exceedingly dangerous, with carelessness possibly leading to a stroke, shock, and it was said that some even caused a change of sex due to practicing incorrectly. Many timid or talentless people simply didn't practice this step and remained in the marrow cleansing realm for their entire lives. However, none of these were problems for Liu Yao, who had activated his X-ray vision. The surging inner breath, under the exquisite control of the spirit refinement realm, transformed into a gentle duster, sweeping over the brain marrow with as much care as one would treat their eyeballs. Suddenly, a warm and moist sensation spread through his brain, making it feel much lighter. Inner breath was the postnatal essence. The so-called mind cleansing was actually using this postnatal essence to continuously nourish and strengthen the body, with the accumulation over days and months eventually leading to a qualitative change that triggered a breakthrough in realms. At that moment, Liu Yao suddenly gained some insight. The essence of martial Dao cultivation was actually to induce the body to evolve through continuous arduous practice and with the help of inner breath, a miraculous life energy, also known as benign mutation. Formidable strength was merely a byproduct of the evolution. Having understood this, Liu Yao's mind cleansing became even smoother, and he felt as if his brain, like a dusty pearl being wiped clean, was gradually revealing its dazzling brilliance. But this was just the beginning, the real focus was next. As a high-level practitioner in the fetal breath realm, he couldn't just proceed step by step like an ordinary martial artist, otherwise, how would the marvelous aspects of spirit refinement be demonstrated? While Liu Yao was cleansing his brain marrow, he controlled another stream of inner breath to cleanse his spinal cord. As stated in the cultivation method of the Liao family, the marrow descends from the brain into the great shuttle A cup ointment, seeps into the spinal cord, runs down to the coccyx, soaking through the joints. The spinal cord and brain marrow communicated with each other and could be cleansed simultaneously in theory, achieving better and faster cultivation effects. Of course, only spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing would enable one to do so. At this moment, Liu Yao controlled the inner breath in a two-pronged approach, jointly cleansing the brain and spinal cord, with an efficiency that was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. This mutual communication between two connected organs greatly promoted the cleansing of each other. Liu Yao could distinctly feel that his cultivation progress had increased fivefold. The consumption of inner breath also increased exponentially, but fortunately, the pills he had swallowed in advance were taking effect, continuously producing inner breath to sustain the cultivation. After a while, Liu Yao finished his cultivation and began to regulate his breathing to finish the session. Looking up, he noticed that half a day had passed, and it was already well past dawn. The two sisters had been by his side the whole time, never leaving, their hopeful and anxious eyes looking over. Liu Yao smiled and said, "Mission accomplished." The two women finally breathed a sigh of relief, and Liao Qi joyfully said, "Ha, our family will soon have another blood exchange realm practitioner. And then in a couple of years, another step up to innate grandmaster, at which point I'll be an imperially mandated madam." Following the innate realm, practitioners would confer titles upon their wives and shade to their children, and according to Liu Yao's cultivation progress, it was already a done deal. Liu Yao said with a proud smile, "Today is August 21st, I will achieve blood exchange by September. Stabilize the realm for a month, and then in October, I go to Imperial City. Look at you being so capable, Liaoya teased, extending her finger like a spring onion, poking the proud disciple. Liu Yao opened his mouth as if to bite, scaring her into quickly retracting it. Liao Qi looked at the affectionate pair, her gaze sharpening, but she blinked and chose to say nothing. In the days that followed, Liu Yao set aside all distractions and focused on advancing to the blood exchange realm. Every day, he either cleansed his spinal cord and brain marrow or hammered his body into shape, without a moment's rest. The double-decker bus, with no engine, was repurposed into a barbell. Liu Yao lifted the back end of the bus, straining with all his might to only get it up to waist height. He had kept a secret from everyone. A few days ago, when he had traveled far, he had carried the bus daily until his body was pushed to its limits. He clearly felt that the terminal illness could not be suppressed any longer and was ready to counterattack at any moment. This thing had always been a shadow over his heart, but it was also a motivation for his cultivation. After several days of arduous cultivation, on August 30th, Liu Yao woke up to find his two front teeth loose. With a gentle lick, they fell out. Looking in the mirror, he saw two new teeth poking their sharp edges from the gums, pushing out the old teeth. Liao Qi was extremely excited to witness this scene. Her delicate face flushed with two red spots, she screamed, "Ah, Liu Yao, you have new teeth. This is the sign of entering the blood exchange realm. I'm going to tell sister." The girl flipped her braid and ran off, soon returning with Liaoya in tow. The two girls excitedly and curiously circled his mouth for a close inspection. Liaoya's bright eyes were filled with joy. "Congratulations, junior brother, for shedding the mortal coil and refining the immortal bones, and advancing to the blood exchange realm. Once all your new teeth are in, your realm will be completely stable." Liu Yao laughed, "It's also thanks to you both, helping me with massages and foot rubs every day." The two girls had also been busy these past days, pausing their own cultivation to fully assist their junior brother in breaking through, playing a significant role in his progress. Liaoya planned happily, the blood exchange is no small matter. Once your realm is stable, we need to throw a feast to celebrate and invite Daoist Zhou too. Liu Yao nodded repeatedly, "Sure, the old Daoist gets on well with us, we definitely should invite him." Next, Liu Yao paused his physical training and spent each day nurturing his body with inner breath. Under the effect of inner vision, even the tiniest flaw would be discovered in advance and promptly resolved. At present, all the marrow in his body had been cleansed, crystal clear like frost. This new marrow worked at full strength to replace all the blood in his body with new blood, which was as dense as lead and mercury. This new blood contained more energy and inner breath, thoroughly cleansing every part of his body from the inside out. Every day, Liu Yao's body grew stronger, from bones to muscles, from blood vessels to nerves, each cell, each gland became more powerful than before. As his realm gradually stabilized, he, with his robust body, even began to wonder if his flesh and bones were made of metal. On the 20th day, Liu Yao's mouth full of teeth had been replaced, and he stepped into the blood exchange realm without any trouble or danger. The newly grown teeth were clear and sparkling, they resounded with a metallic echo when tapped, their hardness even surpassing that of steel. At that moment, Liu Yao held a stainless steel spoon, biting off the head in one go. Just like eating beef jerky. After chewing for a while, he spit out the stainless steel remains. After the blood exchange, his weight increased from the original 80 kilograms to 100 kilograms, but his body shape did not change a bit. The added weight was due to his body becoming even more formidable. The previously difficult to lift bus could now be easily raised to the shoulders. Post-blood exchange, one can possess a strength of 10,000 jin. Liu Yao, newly entered into this realm, currently only had a strength of 8,000 jin. And the increase in strength was just the least significant benefit. Next was to test the strength of the new body after the breakthrough in the realm. Liaoya and Liao Qi came over holding guns. Handguns, axe, barrettes, they had it all. Liu Yao stripped off his clothes and cried out, "Fire away!" It was indeed a command for the girls to shoot at him. Liao Qi hesitated, "Liu Yao, are you sure about this? I can't bring myself to do it." Chapter 224. Take the bullet for someone. The sister couldn't bring herself to do it, and Liaoya also felt some reluctance, but she knew it was necessary, saying in a deep voice, "Junior brother is right, we must personally test this to be sure in our hearts. Otherwise, panic during battle can lead to fatal errors. Exactly, Liu Yao nodded. We'll inevitably encounter firearms, so we must have complete understanding of our bodies. He patted Liao Qi's head to comfort her. Besides, we're not unfamiliar with blood exchange. Surviving a dozen .50 shots, these weapons should be no problem. Just fire away. Liu Yao acted mainly to prepare for a confrontation with Blue Star's Foreign Affairs Bureau. After suffering defeats twice, the next encounter was sure to be a major one. Liao Qi gritted her teeth. Then I'm going to start shooting, get ready. Liu Yao waved his hand, come on. With a bang, the Glock in the sister's hand fired. The bullet struck Liu Yao's forearm and was deflected, leaving only a white mark. This shot was practically ineffective. Continue seeing himself unharmed, Liu Yao was thrilled and struck various bodybuilding poses, allowing his sister to pummel him. Seeing her beloved completely ignore the damage of the handgun, Liao Qi became braver, emptying the entire magazine one shot at a time. Most of the handgun bullets were deflected, and only those at the right angles could penetrate the skin, inevitably getting stuck in the muscles. Switch to the AK. This time it was Liao Ya who fired. She was decisively more straightforward, not hesitating to fire at Liu Yao's forearm. With a thud, the 7.62mm bullet pierced through the epidermis and muscles, but was stopped by the bone. Seeing her junior brother wounded, Liao Ya immediately rushed forward to check. Liu Yao shouted, don't stop, I'm fine. Liao Ya took a deep breath and fired 10 shots, hitting various parts of Liu Yao's body, excluding the head and groin. Hiss, it hurts. Liu Yao grimaced in pain, as the sisters looked on with concern and came forward to check. But they saw him bouncing around, just in pain. Moreover, after twisting his muscles and bones, the deformed bullets were squeezed out of the bullet holes, and the wounds forcibly closed. In the blood exchange realm, bones like refined steel, bullets could penetrate flesh but were absolutely unable to break through the bones. The 7.62mm bullets fired from the AK were all caught by the tough bones. A small amount of blood flowed from Liu Yao, the translucent blood shining like mercury, carrying overwhelming vitality and a vast amount of nutrients to sustain the formidable body that could stop bullets. If the original blood was regular gasoline, then the blood after blood exchange was like aviation fuel. Marrow resides in bones, and bones rely on marrow for nourishment. Liao Ya carefully observed her junior brother's robust body, nodding continuously. After refining the marrow to a frosted state, the bones, nourished by the marrow, become as firm as refined steel. As the saying goes, shedding the mortal coil, refining immortal bones. Liu Yao's flurry of punches created numerous afterimages and a series of explosive sounds, with energy bursting out in all directions. The explosive power has increased manifold, and my vitality has also become much more robust. After taking these 10 shots, I only feel pain, which doesn't affect my movements at all. He pointed to the wounds on his body. Look, they've already stopped bleeding and scabbed over. They will heal after one night. These gunshot wounds, though bone deep, were considered only minor injuries for someone in the blood exchange realm. Liu Yao looked toward the last barret. Next up is this one. Liao Qi, your turn. Liao Qi refused to do it no matter what. I don't dare, let's forget about this one. An Einheit knight took 15 shots before dying, I'll be fine with just one. Liu Yao looked at Liao Ya, senior sister, you do it. Liao Ya worked the bowl to load the gun, speaking solemnly, junior brother, be prepared. Pulling the trigger, a muffled bang resounded as the .50 bullet whistled out, striking the strongest part of the upper body, the humerus. Liu Yao flung his left shoulder, hit by a shot, and took a step back with a muffled grunt, that's refreshing, what a powerful shot. A cup-sized hole appeared on his upper arm. His muscles twisted, squeezing out the deformed bullet, and after moving his arm around, Liu Yao said, the bones are slightly damaged, and the movement is a little affected, but it's just a minor injury. It'll heal in a couple of days. He was still jumping around as if nothing happened. Despite being shot, he hardly seemed affected. If his health were 100, that shot only took away about 10 points. Seeing how robust Liu Yao's physique was, the two sisters clicked their tongues in amazement and gained a deeper understanding of the power of the blood exchange mirror. They also felt happy for him. The sickly weakling who used to fall over just from a gust of wind had now surpassed the two of them in cultivation. In the blood exchange realm, one is immune to all diseases and poisons, shedding the mortal body and refining the bones into those of an immortal fundamentally eliminates all possibilities of disease. Liu Yao was now someone who couldn't be killed even by a Barrett. Of course, any terminal illnesses were also gone. Liao Qi knew this as well. She seemed particularly happy, tiptoeing and humming a tune all day long. That evening, Liu Yao chuckled and said, "Little junior sister, want to see how formidable a blood exchange realm martial artist is?" Liao Qi snorted with laughter, "Let's try it. It's not like I'll be at a loss. Don't get cocky, my carp stance." "Ah!" Liao Qi screamed and quickly clamped her mouth shut. Liu Yao had become significantly stronger, not just a little bit. Moreover, after his blood exchange, his vitality was booming and his inner breath more powerful and hot. Liao Qi felt especially hot and suddenly remembered. Once, Sister Li Pei at Master Zhou's place held a teapot and boiled the water just with her hands. After screaming half the night, Liao Qi had to change the bedsheet and quilt for a new one, and while her face was still red, she pounded Liu Yao twice. "You bad egg! I told you to stop, and you got even more excited. Look what you've done, now I'll be the butt of jokes with sister tomorrow." The next day, Liu Yao's injuries had mostly healed, apart from the one caused by the Barrett. Liao Ya found him and said, "Junior brother, now that you've fully advanced to the blood exchange realm, let's have a feast to celebrate. I'll call Master Zhou and invite him to the banquet." She was about to call when Liu Yao stopped her, "No need, I'll use this." He took out an A4 sheet of paper and wrote, "This junior has reached the martial path of blood exchange. Please come for a chat tomorrow, Master Zhou." Folding the paper into 1,000 paper cranes, he covered it with both hands to infuse it with mind force, while desperately trying to picture Master Zhou's face in his mind. He then threw the paper crane into the sky with a "Off you go." The paper crane flapped its wings and flew towards the Taoist temple. Liao Ya said helplessly, "Calling would have been so much easier." Liu Yao retorted with a smirk, "He's put on so many shows, it's my turn to have one, right?" Liao Ya. When Liu Yao first reached fetal breath, he could only throw paper airplanes, but now with his spirit refining stage, he finally could use the 1,000 paper cranes. While this thing looks flashier, it's really not as aerodynamic as paper airplanes and requires more mind force to operate. Mind force is interesting. It not only powers the paper crane but also acts like a smart program that can seek people out. As long as Master Zhou is seen in that direction, the paper crane will automatically fly down to him. About a quarter of an hour later, another paper crane wobbled over. Catching and unfolding it, he read, "I will definitely come tomorrow, and Fu Fangsheng with 3 others will also attend." Liu Yao wanted to reply with another flying message, but he had run out of mind force and could only shrug his shoulders helplessly. Chapter 225 World Martial Arts Tournament. The next morning, Zhou He arrived with Fu Fangsheng, Zhao Sanduo and Monk Ben Ming. "Congratulations to brother Liu on breaking through to the next realm." Fu Fangsheng handed over a cloth bag, "This is a little celebration gift from us brothers." Liu Yao opened it and, sure enough, it was a pack of blood cores. It seemed that since their last parting, the 3 of them had killed quite a few vampires. "Thanks for the honor, brothers. It's enough that you came, what's with bringing gifts? You're a bird raiser too, so don't mention it." As everyone took their seats, they realized the banquet was excessively lavish. Liu Yao had ordered 10 medicinal dishes from the Four Seas Tower, all of them tough delicacies like rhino head and whole elephant trunk. These medicinal dishes were slow cooked to unleash their power, each stewing in a clay pot as large as a small water urn. The wine was golden elixir brew, with valuable herbs generously added, having an effect 2 times stronger than those available on the market. With such a feast, everyone repeatedly said, "You've spent too much, too much. Today's a happy day, just let loose." Liu Yao led the guests to their seats. Being straightforward men, they began to eat and drink heartily, clinking cups and passing dishes around. During the meal, after 2 cups of wine, Fu Fangsheng began to boast about the glorious deeds they had done. "Brother Liu, you have no idea. The foreigners' church is a veritable den of demons. Filled with many children they've kidnapped. We 3 went to Yunport first and rescued nearly 100 children from the cellar of the church. Then we followed the trail and took down a human tooth gang. Damn it, to think that those involved in such heinous deeds were of the blood exchange realm. Continuing on, we stirred up trouble in Jinmen, sinking a human trafficking ship bound overseas and picked a fight with a Frandi church. The newly appointed bishop was killed by me. Fu Fengshen's fair baby face flushed with excitement, counting the one from last time, I've killed two. Later we even alarmed Li Zhongtang himself, who personally handled the matter. So each of us now has a bounty of 1,500 silver taels on our heads, sighed Zhao Sanduo. It's going to be hard to go out in the future. Amitabha, Monk Benming wiped the oil from the corner of his mouth and pressed his palms together. To subdue demons and eliminate evil is the duty of a monk. Everyone's in high spirits. Liu Ya raised his glass, let's strive to raise the bounty to 10,000 silver taels. Fu Fengsheng said modestly, 10,000 silver taels are for innate realm big villains, we're still somewhat lacking. Brother Fu, don't sell yourself short, I think you can do it. Believe in yourself. Thank you for your confidence, Brother Liu, let's drink to that. After 3 rounds of wine and a taste of 5 flavors, Liu Yao noticed Zhou He constantly drinking quietly, appearing somewhat melancholic. Deist Zhou, how is Sui I doing? Doing great, growing strong and hopeful for a blood exchange. Zhou He seemed a bit more spirited. Liu, my friend, I reached the blood exchange realm thanks to the spirit refinement realm, so I can't be much help to you. Just remember. Don't neglect the martial path or spirit refinement, that's all. Liu Yao said earnestly, rest assured, Deist, I've got it. At that moment, Fu Fengsheng swallowed a big bite of elephant trunk and said contentedly, 10 whole medicinal dishes, this is too luxurious. Liu Yao replied with a smile, it's rare for us to gather like this, might as well enjoy ourselves to the fullest. 10 dishes. Hearing the conversation, Zhou He sighed, some people manage to eat 108 dishes in one meal. Are you talking about the Empress Dowager, Deist Zhou? Inquired Liu Yao. Speaking of which, I'll be heading to the Imperial City in a few days. Zhou He reminded seriously, be careful, Liu, the Imperial City is not at peace. Are you referring to the young emperor taking power? Don't worry, we stay out of politics. Zhou He shook his head and after a pause, he asked, have you ever heard the saying, when a nation is about to perish, there will be fiends? Liu Yao nodded slightly, waiting for the enfeoffed priest to continue. The imperial court has decreed that on the 10th day of the 10th month, at the hour of Wu in the 3rd quarter, they will bow to the imperial city. Zhou He spoke slowly. This is obviously to harness the power of collective will, but who knows what the Empress Dowager is aiming for. With her character, I'm afraid no good can come of it. And there's the construction of the Summer Palace in Chang'an, that's where Emperor Qin's mausoleum is. This world really can't withstand any more turmoil. The scene fell silent for a moment, and Liu Yao now knew why the old Daoist priest was somber. After a while, Zhou He slapped his forehead and said, today is a day of celebration for young friend Liu, we shouldn't bring up such depressing matters. In the eyes of old Daoist Zhou, being aware of such high-level affairs was nothing but an unnecessary source of worry. Raising his glass to toast, he said, I've also brought a congratulatory gift, young friend Liu, let me teach you a fun technique. Mind sound transmission. No sooner had he spoken than Zhou He's voice rang in Liu Yao's ears. Young friend, with the power of your mind combined with inner breath, you can silently transmit your voice. Liu Yao found it very interesting and immediately began learning from Zhou He. This technique required a clever skill, the very domain that spirit refining experts excelled at learning, and it didn't take long for Liu Yao to master it. He teasingly transmitted a message to Liao Ye, sister, I want to marry you as my wife. The young girl heard it loud and clear, her fair cheeks flushing red. Luckily, at this moment, everyone was red-faced from drinking, so she didn't stand out. The banquet went on from morning till afternoon before finally concluding, and Zhou He and the others stood up to take their leave. Before departing, the old Daoist priest advised, young friend Liu, be vigilant in Imperial City and stay away from the Empress Dowager. I hope I'm just being overly cautious. Liu Yao gave a solemn fist salute and bid farewell to his elder friend. After the guests had departed, Liao Qi reminded, we're going to Imperial City, let's inform Sister Li Pei in advance. People who are meant for each other often have a telepathic connection. Just as Liu Yao was about to make a phone call, Li Pei actually called first and also had good news to share. My master went with the fleet to the sea, slaughtered an Izumo innate expert, contributing greatly, and even broke through to the spirit refining oblivion. Yu Yanmei was Li family's stabilizing force. This was indeed great news. Li Pei continued. Thanks to that bottle of 10 complete immortal pill you gave me, its potent effects are so strong that even innate practitioners can use it. My master has praised it several times. Then I'll bring more for you this time. You can have as much as you want. You're coming over. I've undergone the blood exchange and am planning to go to Imperial City to find you. Li Pei was overjoyed at the news. In fact, she really wanted Liu Yao to come over. After all, she had been craving for Liu Yao for a long time and was eager to show off that she had a Ruyi beloved who was in the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing. But as a commandery princess, she had to maintain her composure at this time, and couldn't appear too eager for a man. Li Pei simply said softly, "Come over, I'll be waiting for you. I expect to arrive in Imperial City on the afternoon of September 27th. Oh, and I heard there's going to be a martial competition." A martial competition? There's something you might not know. Some days ago, the Izumo ambassador proposed a martial contest between our two nations. The Empress Dowager found the idea appealing, and decided to expand the scope, turning it into a World Martial Arts Congresses open to all nations. Liu Yao curiously said, "Oh? All nations? That seems like it will be quite lively." Mainly because Izumo can't swallow their pride, and they want to gain leverage for the upcoming ceasefire negotiations. Liu Yao grinned through gritted teeth, "I see, then I definitely can't let those sons of turtles have an easy time." While the two were chatting warmly, another voice butted in. "Liu Ziazi, I've nurtured this disciple for over 20 years, you can't have her for nothing. You must win the championship at the Martial Congress, or I won't agree to your union." The speaker was none other than Yu Yanmei, and from the other end of the phone came the sound of bickering. "Ah, master, what nonsense are you talking?" "It's not nonsense, I raised her painstakingly for over 20 years, why should I let him just waltz off with her?" Liu Yao said with a laugh, "Don't worry. I'll definitely win the championship." Hearing that the experts from Izumo would also be competing, Liu Yao suddenly felt motivated. Chapter 226. Arrive in Beijing. The other world also had the saying, if you want to go, pick a date like 3, 6, or 9, and the day they set off happened to be September 23rd. Yunzhou was nearly 1,000 kilometers away from Imperial City in a straight line, and with the strength of their feet. By the next morning, they had steadied themselves. The martial arts competition was to be held on the 6th of the following month, so there was plenty of time, and they were in no rush to get there. During a break mid-journey, Liu Yao fed the blood core to the spiritual sparrowhawks like candy beans. The 3 spiritual sparrowhawks swooped down and swallowed the blood core mid-air. After entangling themselves with their master for a massage session, they sprawled out on the ground, comfortably trembling with all their feathers. Their bodies became more robust and graceful, with a body length close to 1.5 meters and a wingspan over 3 meters. During play fights, they could even lift Liu Yao off the ground. Liaoya said, "Isn't it too wasteful to feed them whole blood cores directly?" Liu Yao doted on them and said unconcernedly, "No problem, old Fu sent us a big pack of blood cores yesterday." The spiritual sparrowhawks quickly got up and took flight, playing in the sky. Liaoya suggested, "Regarding the competition, although you have an advantage with your spirit refinement realm, you can't be careless. Since we are idle on the road, let me teach you our family's spear technique." Sure thing. Liu Yao had no objection. As the saying goes, one cannot be burdened by too many skills, so learning more would do no harm. The two immediately started the lesson. Liao Ya's core technique, Xiao family spear technique, came from their mother's family. The Xiao family in Imperial City. It could be used with bladed weapons or even using fists in lieu of a spear. Liu Yao took less than an hour to become proficient. With the augmentation of the spirit refinement realm, it was easy to learn any technique based on movements and force application. Even though she knew her junior brother would learn quickly, Liaoya didn't anticipate he would master it so fast. She pouted and said sulkily, "It took me 2 years to learn it." Liu Yao said with a grin, "I can't help it, I just got it all of a sudden." Liaoya huffed and demanded, "I'm going to sit in the carriage with my sister, and you carry us." With that, she flicked her braids and went back to the carriage. After his blood exchange, Liu Yao's strength and stamina had surged, and now he could carry the 2-ton Mercedes W150 alone. And he was happy to do so, as it was the most curious time to explore his newfound strength. His body's bones were like fine steel, and his muscles and fascia were as if they were made of steel wires. When he exerted force, he could even hear the sound of metal being twisted and stretched. Liu Yao exhaled and applied force with his arms, and the car immediately became a festive palanquin. The sisters sat inside, bouncing along with the palanquin bearers running. With the cultivation of a blood exchange warrior, Liao Qi became increasingly enticing, her cheeks flushed with a healthy glow, making her resemble a ripe peach, tempting and luscious. At this moment, she frequently stole glances at her own sister, hesitating to speak multiple times. With spirit refinement firmness, Liao Ya of course noticed her sister's unusual behavior, and she knew what she wanted to say. The young girl pursed her lips and said sternly, "Let's make it clear in advance, we're not going to look for that woman, nor are we going to the Xiao family." Liao Qi bowed her head low, her voice barely above a whisper, "After all, she is our birth mother." "What mother?" Liao Ya's voice suddenly grew louder, "She abandoned us, and she has already remarried, both in emotion and reason, she's a stranger." The girl's chest heaved violently with emotion, "Not even a year after Dad died, she cast us aside to remarry. Let's not talk about her anymore." The two women each looked out the window without speaking further. The palanquin bearer Liu Yao heard everything loud and clear below and silently sighed. Early the next morning, 3 kilometers outside the southern gate of Imperial City, Li Pei sat in the carriage, quietly waiting by the roadside. This was the inevitable route into the Imperial City, and she was there early to welcome Liu Yao. At this moment, the place was bustling with people coming and going, all heading to Imperial City to participate in the competition or to watch the excitement. The battles of the blood exchange realm were not common spectacles. So many people came to watch that the Imperial Court had to change the venue for the competition, setting up the arena outside the city. Like many others, Li Pei was also here waiting for someone. Clusters of nobles and powerful families gathered in groups, pointing and whispering about Li Pei's carriage. Most wore a look of schadenfreude and murmured among themselves. Prince Gong's residents even lost their shares in the Jinmen textile scheme. That's not all, several tens of thousands of acres from the imperial estates are gone. Now they're just relying on the prince's stipend, and they've already dismissed most of their servants. This is the Empress Dowager establishing her authority, letting everyone know what happens to those who defy her. Human nature is the same everywhere, from princes and nobility down to peddlers and errand runners, everyone loves to see someone in misfortune, especially those who used to be high and mighty. Just as gossip was heating up, a group of people approached Li Pei's carriage. The mood of the onlookers was instantly stirred up. "Look! It's the original in-laws of Princess Yongping, the young master Xiang from the Xiang family, whose marriage ended in a flurry and shattering of eggs. Haha, there will be a great show now. If I were a man, I definitely wouldn't be able to swallow this insult." The leader of the men was Xiang Cheng. Dressed in a white suit, his calfskin shoes shining, and sporting a middle-part hairstyle, he looked every bit the talented individual. But staring at Li Pei, he exhibited clear malice and lust. Night after night, Xiang Cheng closed his eyes and remembered that unbearable moment. Though the wounds had long healed, the phantom pain lingered. This was a double blow, both psychological and physical. If he didn't take his revenge thoroughly, the shadow would linger for a lifetime. Xiang Cheng's lips curled into a half-smile as he said, "Seriously, you're wearing women's clothes now." Today, Li Pei was dressed unusually, in a retro-style dress accompanied by high heels. What was originally a fresh and clean attire had turned everything into an air of sexy and charming. Li Pei immediately moved to close the car window. Xiang Cheng quickly put out his hand to stop it. "Don't be so dismissive, I still have something to say." He continued arrogantly, "I just received a knighthood, I'll be a sir in Einheit. There's no hope for you to become my legal wife, but I can reserve a spot for you as a mistress." Li Pei's response was terse, "Scram." Xiang Cheng said, with a grin, "Think about it. Serving me is certainly better than finding a ruined family or a widowed old man to marry." Li Pei's family could no longer provide support and would, instead, become a burden or even an implication, thus forcing her to marry below her station. The ladies of standing in Imperial City were quite particular about their marriages, and Xiang Cheng wanted to publicly strip Li Pei of her most painful scars and greatest shortcomings. The onlookers watched the commotion with grins on their faces. "This is interesting, young Master Xiang wants to take Li Pei as his concubine. Young Master Xiang is a citizen of Einheit, where they call it having a mistress. Now, Prince Gong's residents definitely cannot afford to offend the Xiang family." Xiang Cheng's father reached the spirit refinement firmness stage and was bestowed nobility in Einheit, with close ties to high-ranking officials in various countries. A very important person indeed. Xiang Cheng's humiliation, the ridicule of the onlookers, and their schadenfreude eyes made Li Pei feel an extreme sense of shame, her fists clenching subconsciously. She contemplated disabling Xiang Cheng once more, but her family really couldn't withstand further turmoil. Just when the situation was most embarrassing, Liu Yao's car arrived. Li Pei immediately broke into a smile, displaying 8 pearly white teeth, and her eyes shone even brighter. Chapter 227. Don't hurt me. Li Pei stepped forward, embraced Liao Ya and Liao Qi, and then gave Liu Yao a deep curtsy. The crowd of onlookers buzzed with speculation about the trio's origins. But the more experienced among them had already figured it out: 2 sisters, a man in his 20s, coming from the south, familiar with the commandery princess. That must be the newly acknowledged spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing. This master seems to be very chummy with the commandery princess. They are walking side by side now, arm in arm, embraced directly in his arms. They truly look like a couple. Princess Yongping has found a lord with spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing. It's no wonder that the crowd was abuzz with shock. Spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing represented the crème de la crème of professionals, whose social status was beyond question. Li Pei had clearly hitched her wagon to a star. Xiang Cheng's expression turned grim. He had never imagined that Li Pei had such a trick up her sleeve, actually snagging a golden son-in-law to bring home. His cultivation was only at the focused spirit stage of spirit refining, and he immediately felt at a disadvantage compared to Liu Yao. So, he blew a loud whistle, and a golden eagle descended from the sky to land on the carriage, its piercing gaze directed toward Liu Yao and the others. The crowd erupted in exclamations as the golden eagle, with a body length of 1.2 meters and a wingspan over 2 meters, glinted its sharp talons and curved beaks menacingly. Its size and presence were a clear indication of an organ-refining realm spirit bird, akin to Blue Star's private planes, a blatant display of wealth. With it there to make a scene, Xiang Cheng breathed a sigh of relief, immensely satisfied that all the silver and effort he'd put into raising a spirit bird had ultimately paid off. At that moment, he felt he had regained some momentum and was about to step forward to make some noise, but then he heard a loud whooshing noise. Suddenly, 3 incredibly majestic spiritual sparrowhawks plummeted from the sky at high speed. Tucking in their wings, they streamlined their bodies, diving at speeds far surpassing that of arrows, at least 600 km per hour. Just when they seemed like they would collide with the carriage, the spiritual sparrowhawks gracefully spread their wings to stabilize their bodies, landing elegantly. Their flawless transition from dynamic to serene, showcasing astonishing flying skills, elicited waves of applause and numerous gasps of astonishment. 3 of them. And all so majestic. I heard that Great Master Liu is an overseas tycoon who once donated 1,000,000 kilograms of rice. Notice that having a beautiful daughter at home sometimes works better than cultivating a great martial artist. While the crowd was fervently discussing, the 3 spiritual sparrowhawks surrounded Xiang Cheng's golden eagle, dwarfing it in size and looking down on it from above. As if saying, "What's going on, little brother?" The golden eagle, dwarfed by the 3 elders, seemed to visibly shrink as it imploringly looked to its master for help with a semblance of intelligence. Xiang Cheng was in a panic. He had spent countless efforts to raise the golden eagle to the organ refining level. Any injury to it would break his heart. Out of sheer anxiety, he blurted out reflexively, "Don't hurt my eagle." His words set off a roar of laughter in the crowd. One troublemaker hiding among the spectators shouted, "Young Master Xiang, haven't you already hurt the eagle critically hurt at that? What they have is a chicken that met its end after laying eggs." Ha 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 ha. Laughter filled the air from all directions. Xiang Cheng turned around, trying to find who had shouted, but amidst the noisy crowd, it was impossible to pinpoint. His face flushed a deep red. News spread rapidly in Imperial City, and his "Don't hurt my eagle" would be known throughout the city before noon. The joke of the year. It might even make the news, becoming an anecdote that he could never erase for the rest of his life. The ultimate disgrace. I must avenge this humiliation. Realizing he couldn't stay any longer, Xiang Cheng quickly employed his escape technique and took off, giving Liu Yao and Li Pei a resentful glare before he left. Liu Yao exclaimed in surprise, "Why is he running away? I didn't even make a move." "That just shows the subtlety of Great Master Liu's methods," Li Pei said with a smile, in a good mood. "With so many onlookers, let's leave this place first." Xiang Cheng had underestimated the speed at which news spread. It took only 2 hours for the matter to become common knowledge. "Don't hurt my sculpture" proliferated the most rapidly, and everyone also learned that Li Pei had found a man who had undergone the blood exchange and fetal breath. At that time, Li Pei was dragging Liu Yao back home to meet her father. Carrying 200 silver taels and 210 complete immortal pills, Liu Yao paid a visit and saw the legendary Prince Gong but was very disappointed. The prince was at the martial path of blood exchange, but at this moment, he was listless and haggard. Deprived of power, he seemed to have lost all his vigor and spirit, without the slightest bit of motivation. Liu Yao thought to himself, this is a negative example of how the divine soul affects the body. And stepped forward to greet him respectfully. I've seen Prince Gong. Li Pei has praised you to the skies. I've long wished to meet you, a rising talent of the newer generation. Prince Gong offered a warm and polite smile, briefly scanning Liu Yao with his eyes, which deepened his smile. Oh, you've undergone the blood exchange. Liu Yao modestly replied, I was fortunate to make a breakthrough. Prince Gong praised, blood exchange coupled with spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, truly an unlimited future awaits you. You flatter me. It's just, that this is beneath you. Prince Gong said and then coughed violently, making it hard to imagine that this was a middle-aged man at the blood exchange realm. Li Pei quickly stepped forward to provide gentle comfort as the prince sighed with emotion, good child, you're lucky to have good fortune. I have no objections, you can decide for yourself. Leaving the desolate Wang mansion covered with wilted branches and fallen leaves, Li Pei led 3 people out of the city, heading straight for Fragrant Hills Jing'ai Garden. Father is just worried. He's not thinking straight for the moment, but he should be better after a while. Li Pei expressed somewhat melancholically, you saw his condition, it's inconvenient to keep you in the mansion. Fortunately, this garden is still here, you can stay here for now. Fragrant Hills where Jing'ai Garden was located boasted beautiful scenery and lush woods. It was autumn now, and the whole mountain was covered with red leaves dyeing the forest layers, which held a different kind of appeal. Furthermore, the area was very spacious, with an open view. This was the most presentable place Li Pei currently had at her disposal. Liaoya and Liao Qi immediately fell in love with it, this place is so beautiful. Falling a few steps behind to take in the view, Liaoya whispered, Li Pei's home is in such a state, yet she still considered leaving us this wonderful garden, sigh. Liao Qi nodded, that's just the kind of person she is, she only shares good news, not the bad. The group strolled through the garden, talking about the upcoming international martial arts tournament. You're lucky as well, originally you wouldn't have stood a chance to register for the competition. Blood exchange and fetal breath is considered on par with the combat strength of the innate realm. With you participating, others might as well not compete. Li Pei chuckled, luckily, it turned into an international martial arts tournament. Strong fighters from various nations are joining, and the imperial court definitely doesn't want to lose face, so they're actually pleased to see you compete. Liu Yao said, I just intend to casually pick up a mystic cultivation manual. But don't be careless, Li Pei advised, this time, Izumo has sent many experts to participate, determined to promote their national prestige and regain their dignity. They will surely target you specifically. That's even better. Liu Yao became excited instead, I have a grudge against them, it's a perfect opportunity to collect some interest and also fulfill your master's request. Right, I asked my master to give you cultivation guidance. She went to Jinmen and will be back in 2 or 3 days. Li Pei had thoughtfully considered Liu Yao's situation, as he had just undergone blood exchange and needed guidance from someone at the innate realm. Liu Yao decided he must find a way to properly repay the kindness later. It took a long while for the group to arrive at their residence, which turned out to be a complete and intact mountaintop. A vast place indeed. Being aware of the 3 women's living habits, Li Pei didn't arrange for any servants to be there, maintaining the tranquility of the place. The 3 sisters chatted for a long time and decided to sleep together that night. Liu Yao said cheerfully, don't rush to sleep, let me give you all a massage. After massaging the sisters, he wanted to head back to Blue Star to check on things, as there were many issues waiting for him to handle. Chapter 228. Preliminary Plan, buy a tank or something for self-defense. Several people entered the room, with Liaoya and Liao Qi revealing their bare backs on either side, while Liu Yao stood in the middle performing the Art of the Dragon Slayer manual. Sensing something, Liao Qi repeatedly cautioned, you better not go too intense even if the effect is a bit weaker. She knew that after her beloved had broken the mirror, his inner breath would be searing hot and definitely very stimulating, so she voiced a reminder in advance. But Liu Yao was aiming for that exact effect. He unleashed his full power, channeling inner breath into the sisters' bodies as if it cost him nothing, simultaneously stimulating their major aperture points and organ reflex zones with his fingers. After the blood exchange, it wasn't just their physical bodies that had become formidable, the change in their inner breath was also significant. Now, using it to perform the Art of the Dragon Slayer manual was simply unbearable for ordinary people. Initially, the sisters clenched their mouths shut to endure the pain, but eventually, they couldn't hold back and started screaming out loud, before falling silent and passing out. Li Pei moved closer and used her inner breath to check on them, exclaiming in surprise, "This effect is phenomenal. It even takes care of their toes, making them instinctively fall into a deep sleep to absorb the benefits." Liu Yao smiled and said, "Come on, let's go to another room. I'll give you a set too." As he spoke, he pulled Li Pei out of the room. Li Pei's face flushed red, "Just massage, nothing else. I promised my master." The two found another room, and Liu Yao eagerly started to perform the opposite side of the Art of the Dragon Slayer manual on Li Pei's body. Time flew by, and before they knew it, a quarter of an hour had passed. This time, Liu Yao was thoroughly satisfied. Li Pei hurriedly stopped him, shaking her head. "Liu Yao, it's no good. My master is about to return soon, and she'll punish you severely. And with my family in this state, we can't possibly hold a grand wedding ceremony. I must save the most important thing for the most appropriate day, to have something to look forward to." Alright then, Liu Yao was somewhat disappointed, but he wouldn't force the girl, "So when do we wait until?" "When my master returns, we'll go to the clan affairs bureau and just register our marriage. Is it that simple?" Li Pei murmured, even if we wanted to host a large banquet, no one would dare come, for fear of getting involved. For a commandery princess's wedding to seem less significant than a commoner taking a concubine was indeed pitiful. Liu Yao consoled her, "No worries, we can make up for it later. Once I've achieved innate and left the body, we can have a grand celebration." Li Pei nodded, sweetly snuggling into her lover's embrace. Liu Yao placed his hand on her back, "Come, I will perform the proper Art of the Dragon Slayer manual on you." Li Pei quickly lay down, long anticipating it. Her lover was caring, completely focused on the massage during the session, pouring his entire being into it, which is why the effect was surprisingly good. The next day, just as dawn was breaking, Liao Qi awoke smacking her lips. Her last memories surfaced, and her eyes suddenly became sharp as she sat up abruptly. Seeing that both Li Pei and her sister were beside her, she heaved a sigh of relief. The two women also woke up, ready to get out of bed. Grinning, Liao Qi embraced Li Pei and teased, "Did you two do it last night?" Li Pei's face immediately turned red, "What nonsense are you talking about? I put you both to bed, and then we all rested." Liao Qi sniffed her curiously, "I don't smell anything, it seems to be the truth." Liao Ya gave her sister a slap on the back, "Stop messing around, get up." After getting up, just as the four were about to have breakfast together, a eunuch suddenly called Li Pei away. Today was the 25th, the grand longevity feast would be on the 10th of the next month. Being a member of the royal family, Li Pei had to go to the palace to rehearse the ceremony. Diplomatic envoys from various countries would attend, so the imperial court prepared very formally. Liu Yao was flipping through a newspaper and saw that the envoy from Izumo set to attend the ceremony was Kotaro Komura. This guy is skilled in spirit refinement and out-of-body technique. That cultural relic collector who came knocking last time was linked to him. During the Martial Path tournament, the Izumo people might not behave honorably. "I'd better go back to Blue Star to buy a tank or something for self-defense," Liu Yao concluded. After addressing the sisters, Liu Yao entered the mountains calling out to Starkey to open the door to his home. Since he might bring back a tank or something this time, he picked a particularly spacious area. After he left, Liao Ya said to her sister, "I initially thought as long as our junior brother was good to us, his secrets didn't matter. But the airplane he brought back last time has made me even more curious. Where exactly does he come from?" Biting her lower lip, Liao Qi replied, "I'm curious too, but let's wait for Liu Yao to tell us by himself." The door opened near Marshall's tank factory. Liu Yao took up a sprinter's stance, his legs powering him forward with a loud boom sound. The earth beneath his feet formed two large pits as his body streaked through the air at high speed. Accelerating from 0 to 140 km per hour in just 1 second. The air parted, turning into a strong wind that swept over the plants and knocked numerous branches to the ground, swaying the tree trunks back and forth. In the time it took to smoke a cigarette, he reached the tank factory. He went straight upstairs to find Alexander, who had tried to sell him tanks from his factory several times before. This time, Liu Yao decided to grant his wish. However, he was met with disappointment as Alexander was not there. The subordinate left in charge explained. The boss had gone to Urdu to attend a defense exhibition. Liu Yao thought. Buying a tank doesn't necessarily require the boss himself to be present. It's not like he assembles them personally. But the next piece of news was frustrating. The factory had no tanks in stock, and assembling one from purchased parts would take at least 2 weeks. No, I can't wait. Liu Yao left, grinding his teeth, then remembered the defense exhibition Alexander had gone to. He pulled out his phone to search and found that the exhibition was quite famous, with 522 exhibitors from 51 countries participating. I'll go, too. When it's time, I'll have Alexander place an order, and I'll just pay a middleman fee. Liu Yao quickly came up with a solution and headed for the airport. He remained vigilant for any trouble from the Foreign Affairs Bureau on the way, but everything went smoothly. They didn't come. Liu Yao thought there would be trouble. Maybe the opposition would bring some goodies to his doorstep, saving him the expense. Stolen goods are sweeter than bought ones. He chartered a Gulfstream to Urdu. However, after takeoff, the plane secretly changed course and flew towards the Star Alliance military base in Goryeo. Chapter 229. Plan change, rush to the plane. On the way to the airport, Liu Yao flipped through his phone and noticed that Elder Master Qi had called. It must be about the findings of the investigation of the Star Key's origins. The Elder Master said he would ask a major auction house's antique investigator to look into it. These people are quite professional and would meticulously research which famous people used the antique and what notable historical events it went through as a means to market and increase its value. After picking up the phone, Elder Master Qi hearty and sonorous voice came through. Liu Yao, you really are a busy man. I've got the results of what you wanted to check. Should I send it to your email on the phone? Sure, thank you, Elder Qi. No need for thanks, just remember my Qi family for any treasure you come across. After exchanging pleasantries and hanging up, Liu Yao started to examine the investigation report that was sent over. The Star Key first appeared in Derek City, Mali State, in the Star Alliance country. It went through 2 owners, Ole Bhorn, and Zhang Xin. After Ole Bhorn died of illness, all his belongings were auctioned off by his relatives. Zhang Xin acquired the Star Key. On the surface, there seemed to be no issues, but there was one thing these two had in common. They both developed cancer. Zhang Xin got cancer, and even I, who took over last, was not spared. This surely isn't a coincidence. The auction house's investigation followed formal procedures, focusing on the antique itself, hence it did not delve into personal histories. The secret of the Star Key had only begun to unravel. Professional tasks should be left to professionals. Liu Yao called Li Jin and his wife, asking for the computer-savvy Li Jin's help. Once the call went through, Liu Yao stated his purpose. Brother Li, do you have the means to help me look into something? Use unconventional methods to dig a bit deeper. Li Jin's yawning voice transmitted, as if he had just woken up. That's easy, I know a few hackers who wouldn't hesitate to hack into the Star Alliance's Department of Defense for money. Thanks, I'll send the stuff to your email. Liu Yao forwarded the investigation report and also transferred 2 million to Li Jin. A while later, an exclamation from Li Jin resounded, Liu Yao, this is too much. The thing you're asking about isn't some national secret, this much money isn't necessary. Just take it, I haven't yet paid Sister Zhao for the design fee. At this point, Zhao Ye's voice came through, your battle armor design is almost ready. But, it might be a bit different than what you expected, haha. Its weight is almost 1.5 tons, about the same as a small car. With the strength of 10,000 jin in the blood exchange realm, Liu Yao could easily handle this weight. No problem, Sister Zhao. Don't worry about the weight, just make sure the performance is up to standard. Arriving at the airport, Liu Yao chartered a Gulfstream plane to the city where the defense exhibition was being held. The flight duration was 6 hours. Liu Yao did not waste any time and began pondering over the detailed explanation of crumbling energy. This was Lin Zongqing's consultation fee from the Jing Yuan. It did not contain specific moves but was about the application of force and inner breath, which could greatly increase destructive power. While he was studying it, he sensed malice through his divine sense perception. At that moment, the plane secretly changed course and was quietly heading to a Star Alliance military base in Goryeo. Meanwhile, his phone vibrated once. He had received a text message from an unknown number. "I'm Li Lei. The police came to my door, saying you're a terrorist and are wanted by the international police." International police. Liu Yao opened the official Interpol website and found his photograph on the homepage, listed under Interpol Red Notice. This was the highest level of notice, and he was ranked number 1, complete with a red wanted persons label. Upon clicking in, it was an arrest warrant issued by the Star Alliance country, claiming that Liu Yao was involved in multiple terrorist attacks and requesting extradition of this fugitive at large. This is definitely the work of the Foreign Affairs Bureau. By this time, the aircraft had changed its course and landed desolately on the vast runway at Black Mountain Air Force Base. Move! 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 150 soldiers of the 8th Army Group of the Star Alliance formed a combat formation and surrounded the aircraft. Liu Yao looked through the window at the army outside and wore a cold smile. Just then, his phone rang. It was Agent Janice on the line. "Mr. Liu, are you satisfied with my hospitality? I have carefully studied your psychological profile. Being wanted must be distressing, right? You can't return home anymore, what a pity." Liu Yao spoke calmly, "You are truly despicable. We will be meeting each other soon. There will be a pleasant conversation. I hope you will still be as energetic as you are now." The pleasant conversation Janice referred to wasn't the outdated torture for interrogation. At that moment, she was surrounded by a group of people in white coats, preparing for a wicked surgery. The brain control program. After Liu Yao's capture, he would be injected with a brainwashing drug. This drug was administered through an ultra-long syringe inserted into the eyeball. The drug would completely destroy the brain's discrimination switch, forcing one to blurt out all their information, which would then be compiled and sifted by intelligence analysis experts. For many years, many people who had mysteriously disappeared were emptied of all their memories by this evil interrogation technique. It didn't take much to guess that the method must result in severe sequelae. Becoming an idiot. After World War II, the Star Alliance country had been devoted to researching such bizarre and evil things, and this brain control program was just one of them. Janice was looking forward to what would happen next with great interest. She was in a command room, in front of a row of huge monitors, broadcasting the arrest of Liu Yao in real time. Liu Yao was surrounded. Looking around, he found himself in a large Air Force base, with fighter jets taking off and landing in the distance. Seeing the vertical landing, it was actually an F-35B. Suddenly, Liu Yao changed his original plan of commandeering a tank. Since he was already in an Air Force base, why not steal a plane? As he was fantasizing, the military called out. A captain shouted through a megaphone, "The bastard inside, come out immediately. If you don't want to suffer, don't make me go in to fetch you." As Liu Yao stepped off the plane, 3 soldiers broke away from the formation and advanced. One aimed a gun while 2 subdued him and put on handcuffs. In the eyes of these soldiers, the target before them was already trapped. Not to mention the 150 soldiers surrounding him, there were another 8,000 people in the military base. Seeing Liu Yao docilely wearing the handcuffs, the soldiers immediately let their guard down. The captain cursed under his breath. Foreign Affairs Bureau pansies always make a big fuss over nothing. To capture a person without any resistance, they summoned an entire unit over. Today was supposed to be an open day. I should have been enjoying my time with my darlings, but now it's all ruined. Just as he was grumbling non-stop, the next second he was shocked to discover the target had somehow broken free from the handcuffs and had a gun in his hand. Liu Yao didn't plan to excessively expose his superhuman capabilities. He gently knocked out 3 soldiers with controlled force, casually took over 2 M4A1s, and dual-wielded. He aimed at the enemy and pulled the trigger. The muzzle immediately burst into flames, ejecting one cartridge after another. The bullets hit their targets with deadly accuracy, spraying plumes of blood mist, and the area was filled with wails. Chapter 230. Tutorial on stealing enemy military aircraft. Although the military was dissatisfied with the Foreign Affairs Bureau, they didn't let it affect their tactics. Relying on Humvees to set up mobile cover, they arranged squads into flawless formations that surrounded the target. The M2 heavy machine gun on the Humvee posed the greatest threat, and Liu Yao killed the gunner the moment he opened fire. Seeing that the target was resisting arrest, the army immediately fought back, with M4 rifles and M249 machine guns firing wildly. Bullets rained down like a downpour. In his spirit-refining state, Liu Yao dodged at the speed of an Olympic sprint champion and continued to fire back simultaneously. Enemies who peeked out of cover to shoot were met with bursts of blood mist before collapsing dead on the ground, bulletproof vests and helmets entirely useless. But being under fire from over 100 people, Liu Yao was bewildered by several bullets but simply swayed and remained unaffected. Some thought they had seen incorrectly, while others shouted, "He's wearing a bulletproof vest." Liu Yao just laughed it off and continued to fire while performing an airborne mag change with both hands. At 0.3x speed, plus his cheat-like marksmanship, the 100 or so men before him were powerless, and the putchy sounds of bodies being torn by bullets occurred frequently. Pools of blood and screams filled the chaotic scene. Some tried to man the Humvee's machine guns. They died the most horribly, as they were prioritized. Multiple bullets obliterated their heads. By the time Liu Yao finished his second magazine, he had gotten close to a Humvee. He climbed onto the roof, tossed away the machine gunner's body, and manned the Browning M2 heavy machine gun himself. This gun was nearly played out in the other world. It was his first time using it on Blue Star. Amidst the noise similar to that of a jackhammer at work, large shell casings were ejected continuously, and where the barrel pointed, flesh was instantly torn apart. High above, a UAV transmitted the scene back to command. Agent Janice watched incredulously at the big screen, her eyes bulging and nails digging into her palms. What a bunch of army fools! Even 150 monkeys would be more useful than you. Compared to Liu Yao, these soldiers looked like the easy computer in a shooting game, their only purpose being to highlight the protagonist's strength with a human outline shooting method. At this moment, the entire platoon was completely decimated by Liu Yao's control of the .50 calories machine gun, with almost total annihilation, leaving only a few survivors frantically calling for reinforcements. And all this had taken less than 5 minutes. Watching Liu Yao drive off in the Humvee, Janice sneered, "Where do you think you can run to? With 30,000 troops." Before she could finish her sentence, she became extremely amazed and said, "Where is he going?" Liu Yao, instead of driving away from the base, was charging towards the interior. Black Mountain Air Force Base, in addition to hosting the Air Force, also served to provide services for the military and their families, with regular flights back and forth to the Star Alliance country. The area where Liu Yao was located was the outer airport, while the area where the fighter jets were parked was deep within the base. While driving, Liu Yao took out his phone, unlocked it, and began playing videos. Tutorial on Stealing Enemy Military Aircraft, Part 1. Realize a reward of 500k when you fly it back to the mainland. Tutorial on Stealing Enemy Military Aircraft, Part 2. Guide to Down Pursuers. Tutorial on Stealing Enemy Military Aircraft, Part 3. Landing on a domestic aircraft carrier and defecting. The videos explained how to sneak into an enemy Air Force base and steal a jet to fly back. Clearly, they were meant to be comedic, with even comments below saying, "Thanks, I got the 500k, it has really helped my life." Liu Yao couldn't contain his amusement. The videos were based on a game called DCS World, and despite their comedic nature, they included detailed tutorials on how to operate fighter jets for takeoff, landing, and firing missiles. Liu Yao felt that as a spirit-refining expert, with just a willful movement of his body and minute consciousness control, he should have gotten the hang of it after one look. While looking, he rushed toward the interior of the Air Force Base, with an M29 he had picked up conveniently placed on the CO pilot's seat. The base reacted swiftly, already dispatching security troops to intercept. He saw an Apache attack helicopter approaching and, without a second word, it fired a Hellfire missile. Liu Yao, who was enjoying his observations, entered the spirit-refining state upon noticing the incoming missile. At 0.3x speed, the missile, dragging a long tail of flame, became incredibly slow, and just as it was about to hit, Liu Yao violently turned the steering wheel to avoid it. The vehicle sharply veered to the left, and by then the missile was very close to the ground. It was too late to track the target and change its course, so it helplessly hit the ground, exploding with a loud bang. Innumerable stones pelted the Hummer's body with a clanging sound. Liu Yao stood up to retaliate, operating the .50 calories machine gun to shoot at the Apache 2 kilometers away. The whistling .50 calories bullets, with their scorching heat, formed a bright red line of fire in the air as they struck the Apache, sending sparks flying. The Apache hastily climbed to avoid the onslaught, but under the firearm attacks of the spirit refining expert, it had no place to hide and was hit repeatedly, soon starting to emit black smoke. The pilot frantically shouted "Mayday! Mayday!" as the helicopter spun out of control, plummeting and turning into a ball of fire rising into the sky. Ear-piercing alarm sounds echoed throughout the base. This time, they were genuinely panicked. They had initially thought they were dealing with just one target and didn't need to deploy a large force. But Liu Yao was about to rush to the area where the fighter jets were parked. In fact, he had taken a huge advantage. Entering the interior of the Air Force Base directly with the help of the Foreign Affairs Bureau. He was less than 10 kilometers away from the jets, a 5 or 6 minute drive. It was also quite thrilling because behind him, the silhouettes of wheeled armored vehicles appeared, with 7 or 8 vehicles surrounding him and closing in. In front of him, there were countless military forces with heavy firepower blocking the way. One could see a soldier, bearing a skull tattoo on his arm, shouldering a recoilless rifle and pulling the trigger. With a thump, an armor-piercing cannonball was fiercely shot at him. Liu Yao pulled the handbrake and turned the steering wheel, performing a spectacular drift to dodge the armor-piercing round. As the vehicle spun, Liu Yao kicked the door open and, with one hand, he aimed an M249 at the crowd and sprayed bullets. The group of soldiers, armed with grenade launchers and recoilless rifles, were pierced with countless bloody holes, instantly turned into bloodied gourds. After killing the enemies, just as the vehicle straightened out, Liu Yao stepped hard on the accelerator and continued to charge forward, also bending down to pick up a recoilless rifle. Up ahead was where the fighter jets were parked. Utilizing eyesight comparable to a falcon's, Liu Yao spotted more soldiers ready to block him in advance. He adjusted the direction, set cruise control for the vehicle to drive itself forward, and then operated the .50 calories machine gun, firing wildly. The biggest advantage of the airfield was its spaciousness and open view. All enemies were in plain sight. The .50 calories bullets roared out, blasting holes large enough to fit a fist in the bodies of numerous people, or outright tearing them apart. Even if occasional enemy fire hit, the Hummer, being bulletproof, and so was Liu Yao, a hit or two didn't do much damage. With the physique of the blood exchange realm, he simply twisted his muscles to squeeze out the bullets. In the midst of excitement, his phone rang. Liu Yao answered the call while continuing to fire. "Hello Agent Janice, speak quickly if you have something to say." Hearing the chaotic noise coming from the phone, Janice's face turned ashen with veins popping on her forehead. "Liu Yao, cease your actions immediately. I can revoke the Interpol warrant for your arrest. We'll talk later, I'm busy." Liu Yao hung up the phone and focused on hijacking the plane. Chapter 231. Bye-bye. Liu Yao had just emptied the .50 caliber machine gun's ammunition when he noticed an anti-tank missile had been launched at him. It was fired from a wheeled armored vehicle that was chasing from behind. Busy operating the machine gun and unable to control the vehicle to evade, he could only regretfully jump out, allowing the Humvee to burst into flames as it soared through the air. However, he had already reached the area where the aircraft were parked, so the vehicle was of no use now. He saw planes of various sizes scattered around, a full range. Liu Yao headed straight for an F-35B jet. The F-35B can take off and land vertically, requiring no runway, which is perfect for use in other worlds. There were still some soldiers causing trouble along the way, and Liu Yao, holding an M249, fired and charged forward, killing these hindrances. When he got to the plane, he saw someone was actually in the cockpit. It was the plane's original pilot. Liu Yao pointed the M249 in one hand and the recoilless rifle in the other at the cockpit, ready to fire. The pilot inside, Ruiz, valued his own life very highly and quickly opened the cockpit, raising his hands and leaving the jet. As he walked away, Ruiz silently cursed his bad luck. The Defense Department was planning to phase out the Sea Harrier and replace them with the more advanced F-35B, which was currently in the evaluation stage. This was the newly delivered prototype machine he was conducting field exercises on. Little did he expect to encounter a madman trying to hijack a plane. Such behavior was sheer folly. Even if one managed to take off successfully, they would surely be intercepted. Once settled in the cockpit of the fighter jet, Liu Yao was surrounded by a dense array of buttons, knobs, and levers, which were headache-inducing at first glance. He immediately started to operate them following the instructions he had seen on the video. Fuel supply switch, battery, air intake knob. After fiddling around for a while, he was mostly done and pushed the throttle to start the engines. The F-35B had an incredibly flexible blossom that could direct its exhaust flames in any direction to achieve vertical takeoff and landing. At this moment, the Vector engine was expelling exhaust flames downward, and the jet wobbled into the air, becoming stable after a few seconds. At that time, the wheeled armored vehicles were already in sight, far away. Liu Yao disengaged the jet's weapon safety system and locked the Avenger cannon onto the wheeled armored vehicles, pressing the fire button. In the midst of a noise as loud as an electric drill piercing a wall, the Gatling gun emitted a dazzling light, along with 30mm armor-piercing incendiary shells. This weapon was an enhanced version of the Fire God cannon, which shattered the approaching wheeled armored vehicles like biscuits. The ammunition inside the vehicles was ignited, causing a violent explosion, with flames and thick smoke billowing up into the sky. And it didn't stop there. Liu Yao turned his fire toward the other aircraft on the tarmac, blowing up over a dozen of different sizes. Then he pulled the lever, steering the jet upwards. "See you later." He patted his bottom and left, but the whole scene of the airbase ablaze with fire and cries of killing had already drawn widespread attention. By then, not only were the local residents near the base gossiping and spreading various rumors online, but every nation on Blue Star with satellite capability was focusing their attention on this place, wanting to see what kind of incident had occurred in the Star Alliance country. An extraordinary physique spared Liu Yao a lot of trouble. Without even turning on the oxygen, he flew directly to an altitude of 10,000 meters with no discomfort whatsoever. Beneath him was a world that had become infinitely small, surrounded by beautiful clouds and the boundless deep space. He was beyond excited, happily tumbling through the clouds, performing various aerial maneuvers as if it were not his first time flying a plane. Steering the aircraft towards the western direction of Xia country, he had not gotten far when two F-22s started to pursue him from behind. The F-22, combining stealth capabilities, agility, precision, and situational awareness, makes it a fighter jet with exceptionally comprehensive abilities. The air combat capability of the F-35B was inferior to Liu Yao's, with its speed nearly half as fast. After all, the F-35B sacrificed many of its performance aspects for the ability to take off and land vertically. Over the radio came the furious curse of the enemy pilot, "You son of a bitch! Land!" Having someone break into the base, steal a plane, and then fly it out was like being slapped in the face while sitting atop a pile of shit. A grave humiliation. The two F-22s, ablaze with murderous intent, would not let Liu Yao escape, even if he fled to Xia country's airspace. But their biggest mistake was giving Liu Yao a few minutes to get familiar with the aircraft. All it took was a pull on the stick for the jet to shoot up at a 90-degree angle, then dive down to lock onto a target and fire an AIM-120 air-to-air missile. The enemy plane immediately performed a serpentine maneuver while deploying flares. Astonishingly, the missile was deceived and hit the flares instead. Soon after, Liu Yao heard the piercing alarm. It indicated that the jet detected radar waves, warning the pilot that he was being locked on. The alarm grew more urgent, signaling that the enemy aircraft was about to achieve a successful lock-on, at which point escaping the missile would be impossible. But Liu Yao made a bold move. He turned off the missile's lock-on tracking feature and switched to inertial guidance. To put it simply, he turned the missile into a large sky-piercing monkey, aiming and firing it himself. Entering the spirit-refining state, minute consciousness control allowed Liu Yao to become one with the jet. His mind force reached out, sharing the jet's perspective in an extraordinary way. At that moment, the enemy was just locking on and about to fire, but Liu Yao had already pressed the button, and his missile struck first. The supersonic AIM-120 was incredibly fast and accurate, piercing the enemy aircraft and turning it into a brilliant fireball exploding in the sky. Indeed, I'm more accurate when I do it myself. Air-to-air missiles fly at incredible speeds, up to 4 times the speed of sound. With the help of spirit refinement, Liu Yao's own shots were much more accurate. But there were two F-22s. The other had already locked on and launched its missile. Liu Yao quickly changed direction and deployed flares, mimicking the first aircraft. The incoming missile was also fooled and hit the flares instead. However, he did not return fire with a missile. Because he wanted to save one. After all, there were only 10 missiles to begin with, and 2 were already gone. It was better to be frugal. Liu Yao maneuvered the jet upward, the enemy, intent on killing, followed close behind, beginning to lock on. The familiar alarm started up again, becoming more and more urgent. Just as it was about to peak, Liu Yao abruptly cut the engine to halt the jet midair, then stood up after opening the cockpit canopy. As the two aircraft were about to cross paths, he entered the spirit refining state, slowing everything down to 0.3 times the normal speed. Liu Yao could even see the surprised expression of the opposing pilot through the cockpit canopy, who seemed to be puzzled. The next instant, he pulled out his recoilless rifle and took a shot at the other plane. WTF! Amidst the pilot's exclamations, the armor-piercing shell hit the center of the aircraft as if it had intentionally flown into its path, causing a small explosion followed by a thunderous fireball disintegrating in mid-air. The enemy pilot had never anticipated such an event and hadn't reacted in time to eject and escape. Liu Yao settled back into the cockpit, closed the canopy, and steered the aircraft into the thick clouds at an altitude of 10,000 meters to return through a dimensional door to the other world. Entering the airspace of another country and risking being shot down was one thing, but even if they let you land, they would watch you closely, making it difficult to take the jet with you. Summoning the star key, he opened the dimensional door. The hovering jet seemed to sink into a swamp, slowly disappearing into the light gate. Chapter 232. Once famous, known throughout the world. Liu Yao slapped his butt and took off, leaving a top-tier mess behind. Currently, whether it's the internet, TV, or newspapers, the hottest topic on Blue Star is the military hegemon of Blue Star, the leader of the democratic world. An Air Force base was raided. More than 500 casualties, countless planes and vehicles damaged, and to top it off, an F-35B worth up to $100 million was stolen. The most surreal part is that the robber piloted the aircraft and shot down two F-22s. And he did it in a 1v2 situation. You should know that the F-22 is a fighter jet with excellent overall performance, far superior to the F-35B. To be wiped out 2 against 1 is inconceivable. This isn't just a profound humiliation, it's like being smeared with shit. They lost face completely both inside and out. Up to this moment, countless videos, both clear and blurry, have spread across the internet. Most of these videos were taken by soldiers inside the base, shared on platforms like Facebook and Twitter, causing huge uproar. The Star Alliance country has been playing dead, but foreign media have already dug up explosive news. The Department of Defense first deployed F-22s in Goryeo, followed by the intention to deploy amphibious assault ships and F-35Bs. Who they are targeting is clear without it being said. This type of VTOL aircraft requires extensive field testing before deployment. Doing so is not only for data collection but also to adjust parts and achieve the best balance between production costs and combat effectiveness during mass production, based on real-world conditions. And the stolen F-35B was exactly the prototype machine used for evaluation and testing. The production of the prototype machine didn't consider costs, only the best materials were used, which is why its performance is outstanding and the cost is extremely high. Also, because it needed to be tested, the fighter was fully equipped. Which means the jet that Liu Yao stole was not just a plus version but also loaded with many of the most advanced weapons. The true cost isn't $100 million but $800 million. On the third day after the incident, the spokesperson for the Star Alliance country's military held a press conference, stating, "This was a severe terrorist attack. The Star Alliance country will surely bring the attacker to justice." Not only was the statement severe, but they also announced an astronomical bounty of $200 million. This is the highest bounty ever on Blue Star. Even the planner who flew the plane into the building was only worth $50 million. Liu Yao became famous around the globe in an instant. His photo was revered by countless people, his life experiences dug up and scrutinized under a microscope. But no matter how you look at it, this was just an ordinary young man from Xia country. His battle with cancer also became known, but there are many in modern society who have recovered from cancer after treatment and resumed normal lives, nothing unusual. How did this guy get trained, strong enough to storm through half an Air Force base, steal a fighter jet, and even shoot down 2 planes? That became a common question among everyone. The videos circulating on the internet showed Liu Yao firing an M249, operating a .50 caliber machine gun with prowess, and the climax with the plane taking off. It was a very real and unpretentious action movie, leaving viewers utterly thrilled. Especially the netizens from Xia country, the vast majority didn't see Liu Yao as a so-called terrorist but rather as a near-heroic figure. They commented below the videos. "Fine skills, terrible influence, suggest doubling the bounty. I think this bro is a hero. When's the next heist? The He Kingdom also has bases. Nicely done. He's a tough guy. Curious about his story. Many of Liu Yao's former classmates bragged about their photos with him on social media, from all ages, further indicating he was just a normal young man who grew up in Xia country. Li Lei browsed these photos on her smartphone, looking at Liu Yao's youthful appearance from his student days, and smiled sweetly with understanding. But then her expression soured. The damned fool had really stirred up a massive mess. What to do now? Would she ever see him again in this life? At that thought, the girl vigorously rubbed her face, casting aside the negative thoughts. A calamity lasts 1,000 years, he'll definitely be fine. Li Lei's expression turned solemn as she pushed the door open and entered the conference room, where her subordinates sat, full of respectful looks. They rose to their feet and exclaimed, "Good morning, CEO Li." The company had grown larger and larger, and now she was the undeniable domineering female CEO. Meanwhile, Li Jin and Zhao Ye, when they learned of the news, were actually not very surprised. They had long before seen just how formidable Liu Yao was. Brother Liu really is no ordinary man, to actually steal a plane. And it's a prototype machine. Those are usually for display purposes, very valuable indeed. I pray to God that he is unharmed. Liu Yao is blessed by heaven, he will surely be fine. The family had been saved by Liu Yao twice, and from the bottom of their hearts, they sincerely hoped that Liu Yao was safe and sound. At the same time, Alexander was attending the night market of the defense exhibition, which was also known as the black market. Many countries or armed forces not recognized by the United Nations engaged in transactions there. He watched the news while clutching a flat metal flask, sipping from it sporadically, and then he saw the heroic feats of Liu Yao. Pfft! Cough cough! Vodka sprayed out, resulting in Alexander coughing relentlessly. He compared the names and photos carefully before being convinced that Liu Yao had really done something big. Blasting through half a base and stealing a fighter jet. It's taboo in this line of work to probe or ask about others, as everyone prefers to trade incognito, so he never inquired about Liu Yao's background. But he never imagined that this person could be an international, professional terror, an outlaw beyond the law. As an industry insider, Alexander was well aware. The prototype machine that Liu Yao had stolen wasn't only packed with the most advanced technology, but also possessed many powerful weapons, including the AGM-158 cruise missile. Many countries, as well as giants in the aircraft manufacturing industry, had set their sights on him. Meanwhile, back in Xia country, the Qi family received the same news. At that moment, bodyguard Xiao Lu wore a look of realization, thinking to himself, I really wasn't wrong about him. He's an international desperado. Elder Master Qi was much more straightforward. Just feeling vindicated. He was born in an era of warlord struggles, experienced the threat of national extinction in his youth, and the rivalries of powers at his prime, only to settle down in his old age. Having seen so much, he harbored not the slightest warmth towards certain countries. Elder Master Qi said to his younger relatives, our Qi family has had extensive monetary dealings with Liu Yao, and now some people are knocking sideways to see if we can contact him. Upon hearing Elder Master Qi words, Qi Jun was the first to speak up. It must be because of that prototype aircraft. Qi Kuya was still shocked by the handsome young man's actions, only reacting when Elder Master Qi addressed her. Kuya, can you contact Liu Yao? Qi Kuya shook her head vigorously, I just know him. I can't really reach him as he's off his phone all the time, and even if I could, he wouldn't listen to me. Elder Master Qi showed no surprise and sighed, all we can hope is for young friend Liu to have good luck. Amidst all this commotion, more and more netizens from Xia country became involved in the matter. Before long, something was revealed. Liu Yao's second uncle and his family had been missing for nearly half a year after going to Star Alliance country. No one had seen them alive nor found their bodies, it was suspected they were abducted by the Foreign Affairs Bureau. The second uncle had his own friends and relatives who had been searching for many days. Chapter 233. Speculation of the Foreign Affairs Bureau. Foreign Affairs Bureau Interrogation Room. I am willing to be recruited, willing to serve the Foreign Affairs Bureau. At this moment, Liu Yao's cousin sat in the interrogation chair, his expression dull, incessantly rattling off everything about Liu Yao. I've hated him since we were kids, hated his entire family. I had a hand in his parents' car accident too, that day I deliberately toasted his dad a couple of drinks. There was an almost imperceptible red dot on his eye, indicating he had been injected with a brainwashing agent. After listening for a while, Janice knew this man was of no value. A native-born Xia country citizen, absurdly and wholeheartedly approving of Star Alliance country, truly laughable. Letting the intelligence experts continue to listen, Janice stood up and left for the headquarters conference room. There, a joint analysis meeting was about to take place, specifically targeting Liu Yao. By the time Janice arrived, the room was already full of senior officials from the Department of Defense and Foreign Affairs Bureau. The Department of Defense had sent officers with the lowest rank being major, including a general. Those from the Foreign Affairs Bureau were all department heads and deputy directors. With the status of Janice, she could only stand and listen in. From the side came sneering glances, making her very uncomfortable. Regarding the Air Force Base incident, the military was shifting the blame onto the Foreign Affairs Bureau, accusing them of bringing in Liu Yao. The Foreign Affairs Bureau threw the blame right back, using the footage of the combat on site as evidence, criticizing the military's incompetence, as one person was able to slaughter through them. If only there had been someone competent in the shooting tests, this wouldn't have happened. Although they were still deflecting responsibility onto each other, it was foreseeable that Janice's career prospects would be greatly affected. She was previously praised by her superior Wester and was the designated successor for the External Operations Division after he retired. Now, not only was her succession in question, her own boss might resign to take the blame and retire early. Janice sees her once promising future becoming bleak before her eyes. At that moment, the large screen in the conference room began to play the video of the recent hijacking incident, all featuring Liu Yao's spectacular killing spree. The video was edited, with only the most representative clips shown, which were much clearer than those circulating on the internet. Your next chapter awaits on Empire. The conference room fell silent as everyone watched intently. After viewing the footage once, a black military officer with the rank of colonel took the stage. Janice recognized him. He was the person in charge of the Blackthorn Project, a collaboration between the Department of Defense and Foreign Affairs Bureau. Colonel Reynolds. The super agent who had previously attempted to capture Liu Yao at Kowloon Airport was a product of the Blackthorn Project. Colonel Reynolds adjusted his glasses, looking scholarly, yet he was a scientist from the military's secret labs. He operated the large screen, flashing key scenes while explaining. The target has excellent physical fitness, with endurance and explosive power far exceeding that of an ordinary person. He can move with the speed of 100 meters in 9 seconds continuously, always maintaining stability, even while carrying weapons. The screen flashed scenes of Liu Yao killing squads and charging with an M249. But this is not the focus. What I want to say is, this gentleman's brain development is far ahead of us. The screen began to show Liu Yao maneuvering a Humvee to dodge recoilless guns and Hellfire missiles, as well as precisely taking out distant enemies armed with heavy firepower. His vision was as keen as an eagle's, and his reaction speed was like that of a cheetah, lightning fast. His neural reflex speed was absolutely less than 60 milliseconds. And our best agents only have 80. Colonel Reynolds spoke as he played a video on the big screen. The scene showed Agent Number 5, who died at the airport, undergoing a test. He had a gun holstered at his waist, and someone beside him tossed a coin. Agent Number 5 drew his gun like lightning and shot the coin out of the air before quickly holstering it again. The whole process was so fast, it had to be slowed down to be seen clearly. Colonel Reynolds continued, the agent in the video was killed by our target, and I might add. Mr. Liu is much stronger than he was. Although Liu Yao deliberately concealed his abilities, he still exposed many non-human aspects. However, what the Star Alliance country was most interested in was not his physique but the so-called brain development. This was understandable after all, since modern weapons were so powerful, the brain was far more useful than the physique. It just wasn't known to these people that the extent of Liu Yao's power revealed was only the tip of the iceberg, what their expressions would be. At this moment, Colonel Reynolds spoke excitedly. Our dear Mr. Liu is just a very ordinary citizen of Xia country, with neither the time nor the opportunity to receive any military training or body modifications. I've confirmed this repeatedly through intelligence from the Foreign Affairs Bureau. At this point, he nodded politely to Janice and continued, so, how did Mr. Liu come to possess all this? Whispers rippled through the audience, as everyone speculated differently. Colonel Reynolds didn't leave them hanging, simply pausing before stating outright. Mr. Liu suffered from cancer, and after years of treatment, he had tried all available treatment plans in the world. I admire his perseverance. So, my conjecture is, in the process of treating his cancer, or perhaps the cancer itself gave him this miraculous natural modification. The assembled officials whispered amongst themselves, nodding, seeming to think highly of Colonel Reynolds' speculation. The human body is far more miraculous and complex than anything known. Biology always brings forth individuals far stronger than their peers. The disparity among the Star Alliance countries' population was quite substantial. Some died with just one knee pinning them down by the police, while others were shot 7 times and still hesitated to call an ambulance, instead walking themselves to the hospital. Colonel Reynolds waited a while, giving everyone ample time to think, then made a conclusion. This Mr. Lu is far more valuable than the aircraft he stole, or even the crystal opium formula. He represents the direction and future of life. So, I need a life sample for experimentation and dissection, which will inevitably lead to a complete perfection of Blackthorn. The agents created by the Blackthorn project were formidable but mentally unstable, often suffering from severe headaches and requiring large doses of painkillers. However, these super agents were far too handy for completing missions, especially elimination missions. They could easily eliminate threatening enemies. And more importantly, once the modification surgery stabilized, it could be used on oneself. It took the officials only a short time to reach a consensus, and the only general present stood up saying, "Reynolds, as of now, you're in full charge of this matter. You can freely select people from 2 departments to form a special operations team and use all the resources you think necessary." Colonel Reynolds saluted with a smile. "General Cheney, you won't be disappointed." He then smiled at Janice. "Agent Janice, welcome to my team. Your insights into our target will undoubtedly make our mission run smoother." Janice touched the wedding ring on her hand and said, "Glad to be of service." Meanwhile, back in the other world, Liu Yao was relieved that he had chosen a spacious area to use the star key, otherwise it really wouldn't have been easy to park the 15-meter-long fighter jet with an 11-meter wingspan. He had just gathered a pile of branches and leaves to conceal it when a barely suppressible exclamation was heard. Turning his head, he saw it was Liao Ye. Chapter 234. What a waste to have nurtured this disciple. Although Liu Yao had the plane hovering in the clouds, the engines were still running after all. The noise of a fighter jet needs no exaggeration, and even from 500 meters away, Liao Ye managed to find it by following the sound. At this moment, Liu Yao was in an excited state. To every man, until his dying breath he remains a youth, and he had just engaged in an ace combat at an altitude of 10,000 meters with a fighter jet. Is there anything more thrilling than that? Although using a recoilless rifle to take down the opponent was a bit off script, it might be a minor detail that doesn't mar the overall elegance. After landing, Liu Yao went through the aircraft's weapons, his face lighting up with joy. Suddenly, he heard a scream, turned his head, and saw a curvaceous young girl covering her mouth with widened eyes. It was Liao Ye. Explore stories at Empire. Liu Yao's eyes twinkled mischievously as he suddenly decided to tease his senior sister, walking over with a wicked smile and saying, "You saw everything." Liao Ye, showing no fear, retorted with hands on hips, "I saw it, so what are you going to do about it?" "Then I can't let you go," said Liu Yao as he threw a punch. But the girl didn't dodge at all. Instead she guarded her chest with one hand and her behind with the other, her beautiful eyes looking on alert. She had been attacked by her junior brother many times and knew exactly where he aimed, yelling, "If you dare to bully me just because you're stronger, I will never pay you any attention again." Seeing that he could gain no advantage, Liu Yao gave up and said helplessly, "Senior sister, aren't you afraid I'll silence you?" With a snort, Liao Ye wasn't worried in the least that he would hurt her and grumbled, "Big pervert." Then she approached the aircraft, curiously touching and looking around. "How can this bird be so big? Is it also a plane? Can it carry people and fly?" You're really smart." "Indeed it can," replied Liu Yao, pressing a switch to open the cockpit cover for his senior sister to sit inside and play around. Liao Ye excitedly fiddled and pressed various things, looking very interested. At that time, Liao Qi arrived as well. "Wow! What a huge iron bird!" she exclaimed as she also scrambled over to take a look. In a short while, 3 spiritual sparrowhawks also landed, staring with wide eyes and cawing strangely, appearing even more astonished than the 2 sisters. Liu Yao exhaled, feeling a lot more at ease. After contracting cancer and experiencing many unpleasant things, he had always lacked a sense of security. The environment of the other world wasn't too wonderful either. The Empress Dowager with her mysterious intentions and the innate experts from Izuma were always a threat. The only good news was that the vampires were in a deadlock of mutual slaughter and hadn't been causing trouble recently. But with this fighter jet, he felt reassured. The firepower of the onboard weapons was much stronger than he had imagined. Initially, he only noticed the 8 missiles mounted on the wings and fuselage. But upon inspection, he discovered 2 particularly large treasures hidden in the belly of the plane, which were none other than AGM-158 cruise missiles. The missiles were over 4 meters long, easily fitting a person inside, and the weight was a staggering 1 ton. Designed to strike warships, bunkers, factories, and other facilities, their power was definitely immense, as one could tell from just looking at the warhead payload alone. The payload of a drone's anti-tank missile was 9 kilograms, whereas this thing's payload was 450 kilograms. When you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. Liu Yao began to ponder which enemies he could strike with it. Of course, first on the list was the Izumo ambassador, Kotaro Komura. After declining a recruitment offer, ninjas came to kidnap him within a few days. He was definitely due for some payback. However, spirit refinement fighters are tricky and have a very strong danger sense. I need to be fully prepared. Being a spirit refinement fighter himself, Liu Yao knew all too well how hard they were to kill. While he was mulling this over, Liao Qi ran up to him, wrapped her arms around his arm, and cooed, "How come you came back so quickly? He left in the early morning and now it was only 4 p.m., they hadn't even spent the night. Ran into some trouble, but fortunately I managed to get a plane back. It's not a total loss." Thinking about the situation on Blue Star, Liu Yao felt a bit of a headache coming on. First, there was the issue of how to return. After all, he had opened the door in the sky at 10,000 meters. What if the plane ran out of fuel or broke down? Would he have to fashion a parachute out of bed sheets? A blood exchange warrior would certainly die by falling from 10,000 meters, but with some buffering measures, his strong vitality and physique should ensure nothing too serious. And after a successful landing, he would also have to deal with retaliation from Star Alliance country. Having caused such a commotion, they surely wouldn't let him off easily. Liu Yao shook his head and decided not to think about it anymore. He instructed the 2 younger sisters, saying, "Senior sister, fetch some canvas to cover the plane. Liao Qi, come with me to find some branches and leaves for camouflage. Even though this place is unpopulated mountains, it's still not a good idea to draw attention." Currently, they were at Fragrant Hills Jing'ai Garden, with the nearest human settlement over 20 li away. By the time the 3 of them had hidden the warplane, the sun had set over West Mountain. Just as they had finished preparing dinner, Li Pei, who had gone to the palace for a dress rehearsal, returned. She was not alone, beside her was a woman with a cold demeanor, Yu Yanmei herself. Liu Yao and the 2 girls promptly stepped forward to greet her. "Grandmaster Yu has returned." Yu Yanmei nodded slightly, which served as a greeting. Li Pei, holding onto her master's hand, kept urging, "Hurry and take a look at Liu Yao, give him some tips." Yu Yanmei's eyes revealed a hint of helplessness. "Really, girls are always so outward-focused. You're not even married to him yet. I'll massage your feet nicely." Li Pei seemed more anxious than Liu Yao himself. "Master, please, hurry." Yu Yanmei ruffled her disciple's head, then placed a hand on Liu Yao's shoulder, channeling a stream of true qi into him. He had come into contact with this energy during his earlier breakthrough in spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing. It was exclusive to the innate realm, purer and more refined than inner breath. If Liu Yao's inner breath were boiled water, then her true qi would be molten iron. There was no comparing the two. With the influx of true qi, all the pores in Liu Yao's body involuntarily opened, and he even exhaled a mouthful of white mist. After a while, Yu Yanmei spoke, "You've just undergone blood exchange. The first thing to do next is to achieve internal breath burning. Pai Pei, demonstrate." Li Pei immediately stretched out her palm to the sky, and as inner breath gathered, the temperature surged, causing the air above her palm to blur. Then, she took a teapot filled with cold water and held it in both hands. In about a minute, the water began to boil. This is internal breath burning. Pai Pei is also at this stage. After this comes the 40 teeth mutuality. Yu Yanmei opened her mouth to reveal her teeth, showing an astonishing 40, while the average person has only 28. The last step is converting inner breath into true qi, bridging heaven and earth, transitioning from acquired to innate. It's too early for you now, I'll teach you in detail when it's time. Liu Yao carefully noted everything, then, along with the two sisters, he thanked her deeply, bowing to the ground. The guidance of an innate expert was invaluable, and they were benefiting solely from Li Pei's connection. But Li Pei, unsatisfied, clung to her master and coaxed, "Master, the duel is in just 10 days. This time there are many strong contenders, and even the experts from Izumo are harboring ulterior motives. Teach Liu Yao some skills, our sect's shadow moon star plucking technique would be just right." Impudent disciple. This is the sect protecting divine skill of the Moon Star sect. Yu Yanmei immediately felt that her disciple was truly a wasted effort and almost cursed. Liu Yao, quite slyly, quickly produced a porcelain jar the size of a liquor barrel. This was the 10 complete immortal pill he had prepared before coming to Imperial City, which Yu Yanmei had consumed during a naval battle. Chapter 235. Yu Yanmei's request. Because it requires a spirit refining expert to produce, elixirs are exorbitantly priced, offering a very low cost-performance ratio. Usually, a small porcelain bottle contains just 3 to 5 pills for emergency use. So when Liu Yao brought out a large vat, it was quite a visual shock. At this moment, both Li Pei and her apprentice Yu Yanmei were stunned. Yu Yanmei took over the vat of elixirs and almost lost her composure on the spot. Continue reading stories on Empire. During the sea battle, she had sworn to sink with the enemy ship and, before ramming, had preemptively swallowed 2 pills, which greatly enhanced her abilities and allowed her to slaughter Izumo innates. Therefore, Yu Yanmei knew very well the preciousness of these elixirs. Such significant effects even on the innate realm, each pill was a priceless treasure. But in front of her was an entire large vat. Yu Yanmei looked deeply at Liu Yao, a hint of surprise in her voice. "So many, did you really refine these yourself?" Everyone present knew that Liu Yao had learned alchemy from Elder Zhou, but such potent elixirs were normally thought to be producible only by someone in the out-of-body realm. Liu Yao replied with a modest smile, "It was just a stroke of luck. Are they satisfactory for Grandmaster Yu's use? I originally thought of them as a last resort for encountering strong enemies, but with so many." Yu Yanmei took a deep breath and spoke earnestly, "I can try to break through to the leak-free state." Upon hearing this, Li Pei was both shocked and excited. "Master, you can break through the barrier?" "Yes, this medicine is truly miraculous, and its powerful effect can help me recover my true qi." "That's great!" Li Pei exclaimed joyfully, holding her master's hand, happy for her. After the innate realm, every subsequent level is incredibly difficult, requiring talent, luck, hard work, and astronomical resources. None can be absent. But the benefits gleaned from a breakthrough are immense. In a soft voice, Yu Yanmei said, "What's so good about it? After reaching the leak-free state, I'll have to go around looking for gold. It'd be more carefree as it is now. I have secretly stashed a few golden beans that I can offer to you as a filial gesture, Master. What use would that little amount be? Save it for your dowry." Yu Yanmei put the lid back on the porcelain vat and slowly said, "Liu Ziazi, you're so generous that it makes me seem stingy. I'll teach you the Moon Shadow Star plucking technique now." Next, Yu Yanmei taught the technique in a straightforward manner. She stood in front of Liu Yao and spoke softly, "Watch carefully. The Moon Shadow Star plucking technique is divided into Moon and Star. This is Moon Shadow Body." No sooner had she spoken, than Yu Yanmei instantly split into 4. Each of the figures was slightly blurred around the edges, but each one was performing a different action. Some drew their swords and pointed diagonally, others placed their hands on the hilts as if to draw and slash, and still others held their swords in front of their foreheads. Only the last Yu Yanmei stood tall and still, arms crossed without moving. how.about.it, can.anyone.tell.which.1 is.real. These 4 figures took turns speaking, uttering one word at a time to form a sentence. The Liao family sisters watched intently for a while, then shook their heads together, unable to discern which was real. Li Pei pouted and said, "Master is showing off again. Each of these 4 is both real and fake, it all depends on the user's intent." Yu Yanmei's transformation into 4 people amazed everyone. But showing off was only a secondary intention, the main purpose was to impress Liu Yao. This was an old-school teaching method. First show off a skill to awe the student, securing their wholehearted and diligent attention to the lesson. The next second, the 4 Yu Yanmei leapt up like lightning, surrounding Liu Yao and attacking from 4 directions with their swords simultaneously. Amidst the exclamations of the sisters, Liu Yao turned at the last moment to face Wan Yu Yanmei. The tip of the sword stopped midpoint, motionless. Yu Yanmei nodded in satisfaction, worthy of the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, you found my real body. Grandmaster Yu didn't use all her strength either. Liu Yao had not felt any killing intent from her, clearly, it was just a routine demonstration. There's no need for false modesty, spirit refinement is inherently mystical, Yu Yanmei sheathed her sword and said in her clear, melodious voice. The moon shadow body is flashy and consumes a lot of energy, just take your time with the cultivation. Next, we'll go on to the simpler and more direct star-plucking body. Having said that, she slowly demonstrated. Bending her knees slightly for a squat while leaning forward, and then after a brief build-up of power, she burst forth. With a loud bang, Yu Yanmei burst through the air like a cannonball, transforming into a silver streak of light as she soared over a 15-meter-tall tree. When the 3 onlookers regained their vision, they only saw her casually walking back with her sword sheathed, while behind her, the large tree lay in pieces like a pile of logs, clattering to the ground. The crowd burst into applause and cheers. This scene was very familiar to Liu Yao, he had seen it many times through his drones. The most recent occasion was when he had rammed a boat and cut down Chu Yun of the innate realm. At this moment, Liu Yao activated his spirit refining state, firmly memorizing the opponent's posture and movement, and couldn't help but feel amazed. Yu Yanmei's speed comes not just from her physical strength but also from her posture. It's like a cup-shaped wing. This special streamlined posture turns the displaced air into a force that lifts the body. The air flows faster when compressed, and Yu Yanmei's speed is even faster. With the boost from reacting as desired, Liu Yao began to imitate Yu Yanmei's posture, his entire body resembling that of a sparrowhawk in a dive. At the same time, a substantial amount of inner breath gathered on the surface of his body, aiding in controlling the airflow. The next second, Liu Yao too shot forward with such speed that he kicked up a strong wind, prompting a few girls to exclaim and raise their hands to block the sand and dust. With a crack, Liu Yao broke a tree as thick as a sea bowl and wobbled back, shaking his head. In just 0.4 seconds, he had shot forward 100 meters. This was merely his first attempt, and with careful practice, he could become even faster and more stable. Yu Yanmei was increasingly satisfied and nodded, you're a quick learner, you got it on your first try, better than Pai Pei. Li Pei showed no dissatisfaction and just laughed cheerily, looking quite proud. Liu Yao said with a smile, it's all thanks to my spiritual sparrowhawks. The star-plucking body is very similar to the posture of sparrowhawks diving. I could learn it so quickly because I spend a lot of time with them. As he spoke, he glanced up at the sky where 3 babies dived down like lightning, landing on the tree with precision and grace. They were the true masters of manipulating airflow. Having learned the other's sect protecting divine skill, Liu Yao bowed with clasped hands, thank you, Grandmaster Yu, for your guidance. The 2 sisters bowed at the same time. Yu Yanmei had not avoided them while teaching, which clearly meant they were included as well. Receiving the respect from the 3 of them, Yu Yanmei spoke seriously, Liu Yao, now that you have learned it, I have a favor to ask for this competition. Please speak freely. Kill all the Izumo participants. Said Yu Yanmei, her voice cold, these people are definitely up to no good by participating. Grandmaster Yu then explained in detail, and Liu Yao understood. The top factions of the Shun dynasty had not taken part in this competition. Firstly, they did not need the rewards, and secondly, they wanted to give the Bake Temple face since the final prize was their secret transmission. Last of all, they did not wish to get involved with the Empress Dowager's affairs. This Empress Dowager, who had been in power for 50 years, managed to offend almost everyone in the country except for the eunuchs through a series of maneuvers. Therefore, the domestic competitors were not very strong. On the contrary, Izumo brought over rising stars, all of who were top-tier fighters. This competition attracted worldwide attention, and Izumo intended to defeat Shun dynasty cleanly and decisively, not only to recover face and boost their own morale but also to demoralize the people of the enemy nation. One important aspect of Izumo's strategy for the conquest of Shun Chao was to crush the spirit of Shun country's people, destroy their morale. Moreover, it would also allow them to eliminate any Shun dynasty martial artists who showed talent, hitting several birds with one stone. Chapter 236. Reverse Treaty. As the inheritors of the Moon Star sect, the best assassins have emerged throughout the dynasties. Yet in the last years of the previous dynasty, our 6th generation Grandmaster left behind a puzzling saying. One who wields the sword only for oneself cannot shatter delusions. Subsequently, the 6th generation Grandmaster joined an assassination mission against the high-level officials of the Jin dynasty but met his end together with the Jin's Bachalu. Bathed in the evening breeze filtering through the woods, everyone listened to Yu Yanmei recount. Logically speaking, it shouldn't have ended like that. Our sex movement technique is unparalleled in making escapes, no one should be able to catch us. I didn't understand what he meant by those words until this time when I went to sea with the fleet and saw many people who lacked strength, had no martial deo realm, but were fearless in facing death due to courage and perseverance alone. I had never imagined that such people existed in the world. I suddenly realized. Yu Yanmei looked at the steel sword in her hand and slowly said. Perhaps the 6th generation Grandmaster wanted his successors not to be the blades in the hands of the powerful but to try, to wield their swords for the common folks of the world. Everyone listened in silent agreement for a long while until Liu Yao solemnly said, Master Yu, rest assured, I will kill all these malicious Izumo people. Yu Yanmei nodded and said, with your spirit refining stage plus the plucking star movement technique, this should not be difficult. When the time comes, my disciple here will be of great help to you. Certainly, certainly. Liu Yao repeatedly bowed with his hands clasped. Master. Li Pei clasped her master's arm somewhat shyly. As night fell, everyone headed back to the courtyard, preparing to dine together. Liu Yao casually asked, speaking of which, do we have any information on that Kotaro Komura? You mean the Izumo ambassador? Yu Yanmei replied coldly, ever since they dared to harm Pai, I have been investigating. However, I can never ascertain his martial deo cultivation. Martial deo cultivation. Yes, it's known that he has achieved spirit refinement and out-of-body technique, but his martial deo cultivation remains a mystery. If he's innate, then he would possess the might of the golden body realm. Yu Yanmei wore a grave expression, this person is difficult to deal with, even the intent to kill can be sensed by him. Liu Yao laughed, I have a firearm that should be able to assassinate him. The Izumo ambassador. Kotaro Komura, the very person occupying the thoughts of everyone there, was currently residing inside the Izumo embassy in the capital city, staring blankly into the void. His mind was not present, but rather 2,000 kilometers away in Izumo, Kyoto. The Izumo Imperial Palace was nested right in the center of Kyoto, concealed behind thick stone walls, ancient trees, and within the moat. At this moment, countless cabinet ministers were coming to see the supreme ruler of Izumo. Emperor Kazuhito. The ministers wore grim expressions, tension mingled with dejection and fear as they bowed and bent low before a peculiar man. The man was dressed in a crisp military uniform, his face adorned with a golden mask. This golden mask covered only the upper half of his face above the lips, its sharp beak protruding outward, starkly resembling the guise of a tengu. This man was none other than Emperor Kazuhito himself. He toyed with a humble rice ball in his hand and spoke indifferently. Like Gojian who slept on brushwood and tasted gall, I too can do the same, and have indeed done so. Frugality in every respect, eating only a humble meal each day, I've spared no effort to support your strategies. But, how do you repay me for this? Upon hearing these words, the ministers bowed even lower, their faces revealing fear. One of them, in particular, was General Ito, who had previously suffered a significant defeat. The next second, a pitch-black claw emerged from the void behind the emperor and grabbed General Ito, lifting him into the air like a sparrow. General Ito, you come and tell us. Where has the navy that we painstakingly amassed gone? The voice that spoke resembled thunder, causing the entire imperial palace to tremble and sending chills down the spines of the courtiers present, who wished they could bury their heads into the ground. The pitch-black claw tightened its grip, and numerous fine cracks appeared on General Ito's body, like a shattered porcelain vase. He struggled to say something, but not a word could escape his lips. A black fog rose around Emperor Kazuhito as he pointed to a document before him and said coldly, My ministers, the full support of the throne has been exchanged for this most humiliating treaty. Prime Minister Ito, you explain the contents of the ceasefire treaty. An elderly man in a suit, sporting a long beard, stood up and said, The Shun dynasty demands our unconditional withdrawal of troops, compensation of 100,000 taels of silver, and the opening of 4 trade ports. And then there's also. Prime Minister Ito glanced at the Emperor's expression before continuing, and then there's The absurd demand for the emperor to give homage. Of course, this is nothing but shameless extortion. The details of the treaty. Enough. We have had our fill of this indignity, roared Emperor Kazuhito. This is but a replica of the defeat treaties that the Shun dynasty used to sign in the past. And now it has been turned against us. What an humiliation this is! With that, he threw General Ito behind him, right into a gaping maw bristling with sharp teeth. Behind the emperor, there manifested an immense shadow with wings, crouching to fit within the grand palace. Were it to stand erect, it might have pierced through the roof. The shadow's gaping maw chewed mercilessly, emitting a grating noise that was both ear-piercing and set one's teeth on edge, all amidst General Ito's pitiful screams. At this moment, Kotaro Komura remained a straw man, sitting atop the shoulder of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, witnessing all of this. He thought to himself, the power of spirit refining manifest holiness can deeply interfere with the world. Emperor Kazuhito, bearing the faith of millions of Izumo citizens, indeed possesses a peerlessly strong heart reflection. With such a mighty presence, Izumo is destined to dominate the world. As General Ito was devoured, the hair-raising aura around the emperor receded, and his ministers breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing the emperor's emotions stabilize, the straw man harboring Kotaro Komura's spirit spoke up. Your Majesty need not worry. The Shun dynasty is but a twilight giant, doomed to perish at its own hands, even without our involvement. Emperor Kazuhito slightly raised his hand, indicating for him to continue. The Empress Dowager of the Shun dynasty seeks to use the power of collective will, but this woman who has ruled the nation for 50 years is too confident in herself, and she is about to taste the bitter fruit of her folly. Furthermore, our mission to unearth the immortal Qin ruins is proceeding exceedingly well. We're on the verge of unlocking the outer defenses of the great vehicle Sex Patriarch's ruins and will soon secure the secret treasure within. Emperor Kazuhito curled his lips into a smile. It is good to have someone like you who has the throne's interests at heart. Please, exert your utmost effort. Kotaro Komura responded, I pledge my utmost loyalty to your Majesty. Prime Minister Ito also hurriedly reported his achievements. I bring good news as well. Einheit is willing to aid our country and help us rebuild our navy. Your Majesty shall have a mightier fleet. You are destined to dominate the world. Back in the capital of the Shun dynasty, clarity returned to Kotaro Komura's eyes. He was back. He picked up several documents from his desk, among them was Liu Yao's profile. Continue reading on Empire. Firstly, take this opportunity at the martial contest to eliminate this spirit-refining genius who bears immense enmity toward our nation. Then, add a potent medicine to the Empress Dowager's longevity banquet. Chapter 237. Opening. Days passed swiftly, and before they knew it, the 5th of October had arrived. Li Pei had been living in the fragrant hills Jing'ai Garden, serving as young Master Lu's sparring partner every day. Initially she had been somewhat concerned about Liu Yao's combat prowess, but after several sparring sessions, she began to look forward to the impending martial arts tournament with anticipation. The commandery princess now harbored no other thought than a very pure desire to show off her husband. Imagining herself leading the champion of the World Martial Arts Tournament, who possessed the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, to the Clan Affairs Bureau and receiving envious glances, Li Pei was so excited that she even teared up a little. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and neck with a towel and remarked with emotion, in star-plucking technique, you have already outdone the master. All thanks to the great teaching of you, my master, Liu Yao responded, his body showing only a slight trace of sweat. The two had just finished sparring, and the difference in their level of fatigue clearly showed the gap between them. With the same martial Dao realm, the one higher in the spirit refinement realm would inevitably crush the other. At that moment, Liao Ye and Liao Qi were sparring at the other end, their clashing blows resounding loudly with continuous cries. Li Pei was thoroughly impressed by these three. Normally, martial artists arriving in Imperial City would surely take the time to explore and have fun, as anything one might want to enjoy could be found here, including the so-called Paradise for Men, the Joyful Sect. But Liu Yao and his two companions trained rigorously every day, showing no sign of relaxation. They were either conditioning their bodies or practicing their moves, seemingly having no desire for the outside world with its frivolous distractions. Especially Liu Yao, who would practice his mind force whenever his body grew tired. Once he had exhausted his mental energy, he would continue to expend his physical strength, dedicating himself fully to training. Your perseverance is truly remarkable, Li Pei couldn't help but praise. Time waits for no one, Liu Yao said as he folded a paper crane and threw it into the air. Then he looked down at the three delicate girls on the ground, his desire evident in his eyes. As the competition drew near, the three women decisively ceased their daily massages, so as to not exhaust Liu Yao's energy, imposing abstinence upon him. Liao Qi had already stopped allowing him to touch her, sleeping instead with her two sisters every night. Liao Ya wiped her sweat, her cheeks flushed, and ran over to say, "Junior martial brother Liu, the tournament is tomorrow. You have to push yourself. You represent the Liao family fist." Liu Yao, thinking that the sect leader's senior sister was preoccupied with the reputation of their martial arts school, readily agreed. But Liao Qi stood behind, feeling quite melancholic. She knew all too well that her sister wanted to regain some pride for their maternal family, the Xiao clan. Showing them that the Liao family fist was now prospering. A goal that once seemed unreachable now appeared easily attainable, all because she had carried Liu Yao back to the clinic from the street. Contemplating this, Liao Qi's smile bloomed, exceedingly sweet. Liu Yao inquired, "Pai Pei, will little Kotaro Komura attend the tournament as a spectator?" "That's hard to say. This man is very cunning and is nicknamed Rat Envoy. He's elusive, disappearing without a trace, making his movements difficult to predict," she replied. After a moment of thought, Li Pei said, "But he will definitely appear during the celebration banquet." Liu Yao nodded thoughtfully. Li Pei cautioned him, "I know you bear a grudge against him, but his cultivation level is unknown. Be careful." "Don't worry, I have a plan," he assured her. The next day, which was the morning of October 6, the family got up early and headed to the Biyang New Army Drill Ground, the venue for the martial arts tournament. From a distance, they could see the area was already filled with a sea of people, akin to experiencing a traffic jam in another world. It was bustling with mostly ordinary people, with small merchants and vendors smiling broadly while bustling about their business. There were stalls featuring clappers, talk shows, storytelling, and even film presentations, each encircled by countless people. The place had spontaneously turned into a marketplace and fair. Liu Yao sat in the carriage, quietly experiencing the life of ordinary people in this other world. He did not act like the vehicles next to him, which recklessly honked their horns, rolled down windows to curse or shoo people away. As time passed, someone recognized Liu Yao, leading to exclamations of surprise. Everyone knew that a master with spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing had arrived, but despite combing the entire city for days, even the spies hired by the Izumo people had been unable to locate him. Li Pei had intentionally arranged for Liu Yao to stay in a manner secluded from the urban chaos, not only to prevent disturbances from outsiders but also to guard against salacious tempters, and it seems this strategy had worked well so far. At the Biyang New Army Drill Ground, several high platforms had been erected. However, these were not fighting rings, but rather for dignitaries to enjoy the view of the matches. The competitors would fight on the ground, and the rules were straightforward. Admit defeat or lose consciousness to end the bout. The fighting field was about half the size of a soccer field, and many wealthier spectators had purchased telescopes from vendors. Of course, such distances were no issue for martial artists above the organ refining realm. Those at the spirit refining stage could see everything down to the smallest detail even more clearly. At this moment, countless young ladies in the stands were pointing at Liu Yao, whispering among themselves. Some were shy and timid, covering their mouths with handkerchiefs, others had fiery gazes and were already getting up to approach, quite boldly. Li Pei gave a meaningful look and formed the three talents formation with the Liao family sisters, keeping a flock of wanton women at bay. "Young Master Liu, I am the daughter of the Grand Canal Governor, 28 and yet unmarried. Great Master Liu, I am the legitimate daughter of a cabinet scholar." Some brazen young women desperately waved their white lotus-like arms towards Liu Yao's direction, vying for his attention. Liu Yao merely offered a polite smile, showing no interest. As a spirit refining expert, he had a unique perspective when it came to women. Aura. He only wished to get to know a lady further if her aura was comfortable to him. For example, the three forming a human wall had auras that were clear and flawless under the divine sense perception, with pure hearts. Being in their company brought no pressure, only endless delight. The bustling scene around Liu Yao was quite eye-catching, with some laughing it off and others harboring jealousy in their hearts. There were also those with murderous intent. At this moment, a group of Izumo warriors made no secret of their hostility, displaying their desire for bloodshed openly. Feeling their stares, Liu Yao looked at them impassively. But at that moment, a young man in an embroidered robe approached, followed by servants carrying a great lance for him. As he passed by, the crowd promptly made way, engaging in hushed whispers. The soul-severing lance, the eldest young master of the Xiao family. He's the favorite to win the championship, I've placed my bets on him. The odds on him are too low. Playing it safe, just to earn some smoking money. The man looked haughty, seemingly displeased. Cousin, why have you not visited since arriving in Imperial City more than a dozen days ago? Letting the elders wait is quite impolite. Xiao Zhan. Who's your cousin? Snapped Liao Ye, stepping forward with a cold voice. Our families have severed ties, and we have nothing to do with each other. I am not interested in visiting your home. Nonsense. Xiao Zhan's face darkened with anger. How could you defy your own mother? He was a relative on the sister's maternal side and also a competitor. The oppression from the blood exchange realm was immense, but Liao Ye clenched her teeth and persisted. But the next second, there was no abnormality felt on her, and turning her head, she saw indeed that junior martial brother Lu had arrived. Continue your saga on Empire. Xiao Zhan turned to Lu Yao and gestured, saying, Junior martial brother Lu, long time no see. You may have some talent, but that doesn't mean you can act recklessly. You need to understand that the waters of Imperial City run deep. He glanced at Li Pei and continued, in choosing a wife, one should opt for virtue. Some women are better kept at a distance. Otherwise, it's not only you who will suffer disaster, but your entire family could be implicated. Lu Yao sized up the man with a once-over and asked Liao Ye, who is this idiot, a relative of yours? Ignore him, let's go. Lu Yao completely disregarded the man, leading the three women away. Xiao Zhan snorted coldly, ignorant of life and death. Imperial City is filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers, countless geniuses have fallen. I intended to give you a chance for the sake of family, but it seems my kindness was misplaced. He instructed his servant behind him, go tell the Izumo people, I have agreed to the matter. But I want to see the benefits first. The old servant, a family-born servant, considered his master's interest, suggesting, shouldn't we report this to the old master first? Xiao Zhan said impatiently, report what? With what our family did to the Liao family 10 years ago, how could there be a reconciliation? Any attempt to make nice is utterly fruitless. Chapter 238. In a narrow path, the brave ones win. Our great Shun dynasty was established through martial prowess and pacified the world with it. This martial arts tournament not only aims to promote our national martial arts and strengthen our military aspirations but also to make friends through martial arts and learn about the capabilities of our overseas counterparts. In the arena, an official clad in a scarlet robe was delivering a pre-tournament speech. The peacock embroidery on his robe indicated that he was a civil official. Yet, his powerful voice, sonorous and effortlessly filling the entire venue, also demonstrated his impressive martial deo cultivation. Two officials were in charge of overseeing this martial arts tournament. One was Ndihei, and the other was this man. Li Pei introduced him to the crowd. This is Lord Yuan Kaisheng, who has just returned from Goryeo, a cultivator at the great perfection of the blood exchange realm. Lord Yuan is quite adept, having held Goryeo firmly in the grip of the imperial court, and even personally took charge of transporting provisions to the Liaodong front line during wartime. Li Zhongtang holds him in high regard and has petitioned for a golden banquet in his honor. Barring any unforeseen events, the imperial court will soon have another golden body realm grandmaster. Lu Yao nodded while simultaneously scanning for Kotaro Komura, only to regretfully find that the man had not appeared. Enjoy new chapters from Empire. This martial arts tournament saw Izumo as the second largest participating nation. He should have shown his face and taken a cruise missile strike. However, Lu Yao was not in a hurry. In 2 days' time, the longevity banquet would see ministers from all nations attending as observers, and that man would certainly have to make an appearance. Lu Yao turned and inquired of Liao Ye, senior sister, what's the situation with the Xiao family? Tell me about it. Liao Ye bit her lip and sighed softly. Back when our father died in battle, my sister and I returned to the imperial city to seek refuge with our mother's family. Then, the Xiao family arranged for our mother to remarry and even wanted to send us sisters to the joyful sect to cultivate. Li Pei exclaimed in shock, what? Isn't the joyful sect? Liao Ye's face flushed with anger as she spat out, the so-called bodhisattva of the joyful sect, Pa, is nothing but a madam. She took a fancy to us at a glance, promising the Xiao family countless benefits. Fortunately, I managed to escape with my sister when no one was paying attention. The usually silent Liao Qi spoke in a low voice, it was our mother who secretly let us go. Just as Liao Ye was about to say more, a succession of ceremonial cannons sounded from the arena, and Lord Yuan saluted in the direction of the imperial city, inquiring after the Empress Dowager's health, and declared the start of the tournament. There were more than 200 participants in this tournament. With so many blood exchange warriors gathered in one place, it truly was a rare grand event. Not all these contestants were motivated by fame or fortune, or driven by special purposes. Many martial artists simply wanted to exchange insights with their peers to increase their understanding and accumulate experience. At the moment, Liu Yao's opponent was a young monk who had just entered the blood exchange realm. Phwa Temple's Pruchna Hall. Ben Neng, greets young master Liu. The monk named Ben Neng clasped his hands in greeting. This humble monk knows he is no match for young master Liu and impudently asks for guidance. Phwa Temple. Liu Yao replied with a smile, clasping his fists, I know monk Ben Ming. Hasn't he come? Embarrassment showed on Ben Neng's face. Brother Ben Ming is now a wanted criminal, long expelled from our temple, and certainly cannot participate in the tournament. Oh, I almost forgot, he's also a man with a bounty of 1,000 taels on his head, nodded Liu Yao. At that moment, a junior official in green robes inspected both participants, ensuring they had no prohibited items on them, such as firearms or excessively powerful sacred weapons. The two men took their stances and began. Ben Neng's foundations were solid, he practiced external hardening martial skills. His punches and kicks were powerful and heavy yet swift, each strike emitting an explosive sound and scattering qi in all directions, blasting small pits in the tournament ground. Such strength was considered top tier in the blood exchange realm, but it was a pity his spirit refining stage was only at entering tranquility. Liu Yao expertly dodged each of Ben Neng's attacks, allowing the strikes to barely brush past his clothes, rendering them futile. The two moved together as though they were performing a coordinated routine, almost resembling a master imparting techniques to a disciple. After Ben Neng finished his set of punches, Liu Yao sidestepped an attempt at the explosive Pruchna palm and nonchalantly touched him on the chest and neck. The gap was too vast, and Ben Neng knew to be sensible. He quickly halted his movements and brought his hands together. Thank you, young master Liu, for your guidance. You flatter me. The two amiably concluded their match with the entire bout, including the initial conversation, lasting precisely 2 minutes. This also turned out to be the longest bout in the tournament. Duels between martial artists rarely exceed a minute. At that moment, the military officer of the Izumo embassy, Mitsuomi Kamiya, dressed in a karate uniform, stepped onto the stage. His opponent was also a monk, from Bake Temple. The two briefly exchanged greetings before the battle began. Mitsuomi Kamiya brought his palms together like a knife and struck his opponent's chest in rapid succession. It was as if a little mouse had burrowed into the monk's body, causing bulges to appear all over. The next second, his organs spewed out from his navel and mouth, green and red staining his body and the ground. The monk cried out, trying to stuff his organs back in, but such a wound wouldn't last long even with blood exchange, and he could only die desperately clutching his viscera. In another match, Xiao Zhan held a great lance, a hint of cold light arrives first, followed by the lance like a dragon. With the move Blue Dragon bearing sorrow, he directly pierced his opponent's head, leaving a headless corpse to collapse on the ground. The duration of both matches combined didn't exceed 1 minute. The cruel methods provoked bursts of exclamations. The martial arts tournament never said it was a fight to the death. This brutality is too much. The Izumo people I can understand, but why is the Xiao family doing this too? This young master of the Xiao family has always been overbearing. Just watch. He'll get into trouble sooner or later. The Izumo warriors on the field were all vicious and ruthless, willing to bite off a chunk of flesh even if they couldn't beat their opponent, determined to grievously wound the other at the risk of mutual destruction. For a time, those from the Shun dynasty were terrified of being killed, and many gave up as soon as they saw that their opponent was an Izumo warrior. As a result, the martial arts tournament proceeded even faster, and soon it was Liu Yao's turn to enter the stage. His opponent was an Izumo man in a blue naval uniform, with a long sword strapped to his waist, from which traces of blood could be faintly seen. This man had already slain 2 people. Both were cut into 4 pieces by the immensely powerful Iai slash. As the two met, they immediately attracted the attention of the entire audience. The referee quickly left the field after inspection, and the battle began. Ishikawa Goiki of the Ichi school. Today I will claim your head to sharpen my heart sword. Ishikawa Goiki exuded a resolute aura of death, his hand on the hilt of his sword, his body tensing like a coiling spring. Liu Yao gestured with a come-at-me motion, and in the next instant, his opponent truly shot forward like lightning. Secret technique. Soaring Dragon Slash. Ishikawa Goiki roared, his voice echoing throughout the entire arena, and he used the explosive force of his step to close the distance in a blink of an eye. He concentrated all his strength into this move, his katana was filled with all his murderous intent, carrying an unstoppable resolve as it fiercely unsheathed. Ishikawa Goiki, merely in the spirit-refining state, knew he was no match for Liu Yao, so he aimed for a one-move victory, to slay the spirit-refining genius of the Shun dynasty. On a narrow path, the brave emerges victorious, it was either you die or I perish. In that moment, all martial artists' attention was captured by his insane aura and murderous intent, as they looked on with focused spirit. As the two contestants crossed paths, a massive slash seemed to flash by Liu Yao's body, carving a giant 10-meter-long gash on the ground of the competition field that seemed bottomless at a glance. The arena fell silent as everyone watched intently to find out the outcome. Xiao Zhan stood with his lance, a look of anticipation in his eyes, fantasizing that Liu Yao would lose his life. Don't harm my eagle. Xiang Cheng was also watching the match, hoping that even if Liu Yao didn't die, he would at least be humiliated. Just as the two sisters and Li Pei started to get nervous, everyone suddenly realized something was very wrong in the arena. Ishikawa Goiki stared blankly at his empty hands, incredulous. Where's my sword? It's right here. His sword, somehow, was now in Liu Yao's hands. It turned out that in the instant they crossed paths, in that extremely brief moment, Liu Yao had entered the spirit-refining state, managing to dodge the powerful strike and even taking his opponent's sword away. Liu Yao flicked the katana with his finger, emitting a crisp ding. He swung it twice and said, "Secret technique. Soaring Dragon Slash, that's what it's called, right?" He turned into a silver shadow, flashing past Ishikawa Goiki's body. Every move Liu Yao made was exactly the same as his opponent's, a striking imitation of his secret technique. This is impossible. Ishikawa Goiki's face was a mixture of shock and disbelief as his body slanted into 2, and then 4 parts, scattering on the ground. Liu Yao nonchalantly tossed the katana onto the corpse, dusted off his hands, and walked off the stage. Chapter 239. Grew an extra 2-meter-long tail. Good. Well killed. Well executed. Fight fire with fire. How could Izumo upstarts possibly provoke a spirit-refining expert? Seeing Liu Yao efficiently kill his enemy, a wave of enthusiastic applause and cheers broke out from the crowd. 3 delighted and proud women welcomed their man back, their faces excitedly flushed and their eyes sparkling with unusual brilliance. Liu Yao, you were amazing. Junior martial brother Liu, well done. The girls, not without a bit of vanity, felt utterly delighted under the envious and jealous gazes of those around them. However, some spectators had a hard time disguising their unpleasant expressions. Xiao Zhan and Xiang Cheng's corners of the mouth drooped, cursing the Izumo people as trash in their hearts. The military officer from the Izumo embassy, Mitsuomi Kamiya, frowned and said, "We've completely failed to gauge this person's level. Go, adjust the fighting order, I need to observe this person's strength further." "Yes, sir." A subordinate bowed and headed towards the largest stand. At this moment, the Izumo people around Mitsuomi Kamiya were all dressed as Shun dynasty citizens, not drawing any attention to themselves. These were all infiltrating spies. On the largest stand, 2 officials overseeing the martial arts tournament were seated in charge. It's really rare 3 parties are spending silver to target Liu Yao. It's one thing for Izumo and the Xiang family, but what is the Xiao family thinking? Xiao Zhan actually wants to kill Liu Yao, too. Ndihe put away several silver bills, secretly changed Liu Yao's combat sequence, and then whispered some instructions to his subordinates, as if there were some unscrupulous plan afoot. "Stewardin, this may not be good," said Yuan Kaisheng, who saw through the man's tricks clear as day, frowning as he spoke. "If an outsider snatches the top position, it might be hard to explain to the Empress Dowager." "Haha, Lord Yuan worries too much," laughed Ndihe. "The Empress Dowager is only concerned with the name, it doesn't matter who wins the crown. This competition is just to build momentum for the longevity feast." Yuan Kaisheng pondered for a moment, then remained silent. A Western knight wielding a thrusting sword was beheaded by a slash from an Izumo warrior. Then, it was Liu Yao's turn to take the stage. Upon ascending the platform, he found his opponent was actually Xiao Zhan. Someone in the audience said, "The two favorites for the title are meeting so early. It's going to be a battle between dragons and tigers. Have you guys heard about the history between these two families? I've caught wind of it." The referee proceeded to inspect as usual, but this time his gaze was shifty and he looked somewhat nervous. The match began. "Junior Martial Brother Lu, do you think you are invincible within the blood exchange realm after achieving spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing?" Standing firm with his lance, Xiao Zhan, taking advantage of the pause, said, "Even disregarding the fact that you've just entered blood exchange and have not yet reached even the minor accomplishment stage of internal breath burning." Lu Yao extended his palm, gathered his inner breath, and the air in the palm of his hand seemed somewhat blurred. "Actually, I have reached it. I've been hard at work for over 10 days. Xiao Zhan." Xiao Zhan's handsome face grew fierce. "Enough. In the end, it all comes down to strength. I have achieved spirit refinement firmness, and you can try to see whether you can wrest my weapon away." Upon saying this, the great lance in his hand began to quiver. The body of the lance vibrated intensely, its tip seemed to select someone to devour, and the entire great lance transformed into an unruly black dragon. In the very next moment, the black dragon lunged at Lu Yao. A blood exchange warrior's punches, kicks, or weapon strikes all have destructive power far surpassing bullets. With the strength of tens of thousands of pounds and the addition of explosive power, such a terrifying kinetic energy is brewed. A common person taking a hit would instantly be torn apart. Lu Yao entered the spirit refining state and, after dodging twice, had to admit that this person was indeed skilled, and what's more, possessed a cruel heart. There was something off about the opponent's great lance. Divine sense perception began to sound the alarm, and Lu Yao even smelled a hint of sweetness, realizing that Xiao Zhan, that despicable man, actually dared to deceive. The spearhead was problematic. This feeling was very familiar. It sapped the vital energies, the same effect as the withering bullet. Having performed surgery on Fu Fang twice, Lu Yao knew all too well how disgusting this thing was. Xiao Zhan sneered, "Ha, brother-in-law, it seems you've realized it. This spearhead was provided by the Izumo people, so practical that it takes effect as soon as it breaks the skin. You'd better dodge well, don't get hurt." He wasn't being kind-hearted at all. By exhausting all his strength to dodge, not only could Lu Yao not counterattack, but he would also burn up more stamina, and sooner or later, he would still die. Then, Xiao Zhan launched blood battle in all directions, turning the black dragon into a series of dark shadows that completely enveloped Lu Yao, leaving him no chance to surrender. Any lapse in concentration would instantly result in being dismembered by the great lance. The longer the weapon, the greater its advantage. Under the onslaught of the black dragon, Lu Yao's dodges grew increasingly difficult and slow, suddenly exposing a huge vulnerability. Xiao Zhan let out a disdainful smile, believing that offering vulnerabilities as a tactic was common, but against an equally matched opponent, a false vulnerability would turn into a real one. Blue dragon bearing sorrow. Xiao Zhan roared as he released his breath, and a thunderous rumble emerged from his mouth and nose as he executed the powerful individual killing technique, thrusting the spear forward fiercely. The black dragon swiftly vanished from his retina, lunging towards Lu Yao's head, abruptly drilling into his brain. Xiao Zhan was overjoyed. By killing a spirit refining of divine fetal breathing, he would certainly gain immense fame. Fame leads to fortune, fame precedes success. With one less competitor, as someone already favored to win the championship, securing a spot among the top 3 and achieving the title of martial scholar seemed within easy reach. Today would be a day of great harvest. Xiao Zhan, beaming with joy, shook his great lance, completely mangling the enemy's head. But with his extensive combat experience, he quickly sensed that something was wrong with his feel. The enemy before him suddenly vanished. It was a decoy. Not good. Without a second word, Xiao Zhan made a swift about-turn thrust with his spear, but it was already too late. Lu Yao had just executed the recently learned Moon Shadow Body. This technique, which he himself had mastered in less than 2 days, was unknown to others. He succeeded in deceiving Xiao Zhan. Lu Yao dodged the opponent's about-turn thrust, and a crumbling fist thundered onto his spine. This technique, from the detailed explanation of crumbling energy, allowed the destructive force to burst forth completely within the enemy's body. A muffled sound was heard, and it was as if fireworks had exploded inside Xiao Zhan's back, blasting outward from within. Enduring the agony, he used the momentum of Liu Yao's attack to activate Eve Dragon State to take cover on the ground, shooting far away in the blink of an eye. While maneuvering like a serpent, he shouted, "I surrender." The surrender was swift and decisive, without the slightest hesitation, showing a strong desire to survive. Experience more content on Empire. But Liu Yao had already struck the moment Xiao Zhan shouted "I." Xiao Zhan might be scrambling energetically on the ground, but Liu Yao didn't take him seriously. Picking up the opponent's long spear, he threw it with all his might while in the spirit-refining state. The long spear turned into a black shadow, striking the target precisely right in the buttocks. Xiao Zhan screamed in agony, suddenly sporting a nearly 2-meter-long tail. Ah 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 ah! A world-shaking scream reverberated throughout the venue, as referees and servants hastily came forward to check on him. "Young master, what's happened to you? Quick, pull it out! Ah ah ah! Having been penetrated by a metal object as thick as a duck egg and feeling violated, Xiao Zhan was about to attempt self-rescue. But with the effect of the withering bullet on the spearhead, which had stabbed from his buttocks into his abdomen, quickly activated and drained all his vitality and strength. Xiao Zhan lay on the ground with a powerless and delicate expression, looking somewhat ravishing. Dozens of domestic and international journalists, with cameras at the ready, furiously snapped pictures of his facial expressions. Someone said, "Xiao Zhan, why don't you pull it out quickly, instead of appearing to enjoy it?" Chapter 240. Imperial Martial Contest. Why does this Xiao Zhan still look like he's enjoying himself? Exactly, why isn't he hurrying to pull it out? Why is he paralyzed? Morals decline, integrity fades away. Some older audience members lamented the good old days are gone. Xiao's family's old servant had already rushed up with others, shouting, "Our young master admits defeat, our young master admits defeat." The referee also hurriedly recorded that Liu Yao had won. Liu Yao shrugged his shoulders and went back to rest next to his sister. The old servant breathed a sigh of relief, quickly grabbed the gun with both hands, and decided to pull the thing out first. Openly. The muscles and bones of a blood exchange realm martial artist are tight, and it took all the strength the old servant could muster to pull it out with a pop, nearly causing him to fall from the force of his own effort. Immediately, a stream of black blood sprayed from Xiao Zhan's lower body, which continued to leak without end, but the most eye-catching thing was the radioactive-looking large hole. This scene was overly adult. In the stands, many nanny types quickly covered the eyes of their young ladies, preventing them from looking any further. Many others pointed at Xiao Zhan's buttocks and laughed loudly, and some gestured at the strange long gun, seeming to realize there was something wrong with this object. Xiao's family's servants hastily carried away their young master, but as they moved, all sorts of strange things continuously leaked out of Xiao Zhan's lower half. Black, red, yellow, all colors represented. Crowds along the way scrambled to get out of their way, fearing the slightest contact. A few reporters followed behind taking pictures, their cameras now much more advanced and not as bulky. After the photos were taken, they sped away, certainly possessing martial skills themselves. They were in such a rush to leave because the photos could just make it into tonight's evening paper. The headline featuring the young and handsome Xiao family heir's scandal was guaranteed to boost sales by at least 30%. The competition went on steadily. Chu Yun's representatives were all elites, clearly outperforming their competitors, with more wins than losses. And whether they won or lost, few could walk away from them unharmed. Everyone cursed and burned with anger. Those who had lost loved ones were especially furious. Liu Yao continued to showcase his own style. Against a normal martial artist, he would have a proper exchange, each learning from the other. When facing an Izumo warrior, he would strike them down with violence. At this moment, he was facing an almost half-ton sumo wrestler. The man was 2.5 meters tall and 3 times as wide as Liu Yao. He appeared cumbersome, yet his short-distance movements were incredibly swift. He was like an agile giant. Moreover, his body was covered with thick fat and muscle, serving as armor, essentially wearing a super heavy bulletproof vest, capable of taking 40 or 50.50 caliber bullets. At this moment, the sumo wrestler, wearing only a loincloth, had bloodshot eyes with excitement and roared, "Come on, little bug, come at me." His arms whirled like windmills, continuously creating small pits on the ground. Amidst the flying dirt and stones, Liu Yao dodged at just the right moments, causing the opponent's attacks to miss by inches. Simultaneously, he landed a punch on the enemy's left chest. A dull thud resonated, and the sumo wrestler's left chest trembled tremendously. A pained expression crossed his face, but he wasn't seriously hurt. You've got pretty strong defense, Liu Yao took a deep breath, adjusting his body to its best condition, but you're not without weaknesses. He prepared to launch the plucking star movement technique to take down his opponent. The sumo wrestler's expression hardened, and he initiated his own special technique. Comet Crush. In reality, it was just a headbutt, but made with an especially grand presence. This Hulk's lower limbs were incredibly strong, and with a sudden burst, the ground beneath seemed to explode with a muffled thunder as he charged towards Liu Yao. With half a ton of body weight plus a speed close to 200 km per hour, his momentum was nothing short of terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that once struck, one would be embraced and ravaged by this brute. His previous opponent had been held in a grip that broke his spine and ribs, leading to his demise. Seeing the opponent charge like an out-of-control truck, Liu Yao calmly activated his plucking star movement technique. He struck a pose like a falcon diving, and with a bang shattered the air in front of him, punching his enemy in the chest at a speed of 500 km per hour, ahead even though he started later. A dull and massive thud resounded, and the mountain of flesh that was his enemy now had a significant radial indentation in his chest that sent him tumbling backwards. In the blood exchange realm, there were only two regular vulnerabilities: the heart and the brain. This strike immediately halted the enemy's blood flow throughout his body, causing him to subconsciously clutch at his chest and kneel to the ground. Then, without any hurry, Liu Yao executed the blue dragon-bearing sorrow taught by Liao Ye, using his fist as a gun and infusing it with explosive force straight into the enemy's mouth. With a sudden burst of power, half of the brain, mixed with copious blood like mercury or lead, soared skyward. The enormous corpse fell to the ground after a moment, but Liu Yao had already left the arena, his shadow elongated by the setting sun. Young Master Liu is so powerful. Young Master Liu, look this way. Young Master Liu, my dowry includes a 5% share in Jinmen's Yihe foreign firm. This sumo wrestler was the fifth Izumo warrior that Liu Yao had taken down, his efficiency in killing the best of the lot. His opponents were no weaklings, but each time he dispatched them swiftly and neatly. Add to that his identity as a practitioner of the spirit refinement of divine fetal breathing, and he now even had his own fan club. The girls in the group were all young and beautiful, coming from wealthy or noble families, and their numbers kept growing. Li Pei, Liao Ye, and Liao Qi acted as security, standing at the forefront. But they were only 3 people, and it was becoming increasingly difficult to hold back the crowd, though they persisted through gritted teeth. Suddenly, they felt the crowd lighten. A bunch of glamorous tramps had run off on their own. Turning their heads, they saw Yu Yanmei had arrived. The innate Grandmaster cleared the area with just an icy glance. She acknowledged Liu Yao's efforts. You did well. You fully mastered the Shadow Moon Star plucking technique and killed quite a few duplicitous Izumo warriors. Liu Yao clasped hands and bowed. I have not failed your expectations, but it's not over yet. The leader of the Izumo this time is the embassy military officer, and he is my next match. As long as he could kill this person, the martial arts competition would be successfully accomplished. Mitsuomi Kamiya of the G martial path, Yu Yanmei said coldly, using the guise of an embassy military officer to bribe many officials. However, you won't have the chance to clash today. Oh. The competition for martial scholars will be held during the Imperial Martial Contest on the day of the Longevity Feast. Just as Yu Yanmei finished speaking, Yuan Kaisheng also entered and announced the same. The final duel would take place inside the palace in front of the royal presence. The audience, though regretful, wasn't surprised. The top scholarly title had its palace examination, and naturally, the ultimate selection of martial scholars had to go through the checkpoint of the Imperial Martial Contest. For Liu Yao, this was a chance to witness the legendary Empress Dowager in person. And the Izumo ambassador too. The cruise missile was already longing for action. Meanwhile, at the embassy, the military officer Mitsuomi Kamiya watched over Liu Yao's location with a detached expression. The Izumo warriors around him were significantly fewer, as all who faced Liu Yao had died. Surveying his few remaining subordinates, Mitsuomi Kamiya snorted coldly. I have figured out that spirit refining genius's strength. To kill him in front of the foreign ministers and royal family of the Shun dynasty during the longevity feast would demonstrate Izumo's valor the best.